Chapter 14. Then, Wei Tao stepped onto the stage. He also jumped up, but his movements were clumsy. Wei Tao was 15 years old, with a thick waist and a firm face, like a 20-year-old adult. His body was strong. The muscles in his arms, chest, abdomen, and legs bulged like balloons, giving off a strong sense of power. Su Yu secretly clicked his tongue. Those who could enter the top 10 silver ranks were not ordinary people. I heard that Wei Tao challenged Fan Li, who was ranked 5th, last month and almost defeated him. His current ability is enough to enter the top 6. That's right, I've heard that too. It might not be easy for Jiang Fan to defeat him. Teacher Jiang slightly creased his thick black eyebrows. Let the duel begin. Jiang Fan lightly nodded his chin. I'll let you have one move. Make your move. Hearing this, the audience could not help but gasp. Isn't Jiang Fan too arrogant? How dare he look down on others? Wei Tao felt humiliated, his eyes gleaming. Jiang Fan, don't look down on me. I almost defeated Fan Li. How much stronger can you be? Jiang Fan stood with his arms crossed, his expression indifferent. Although he was looking at Wei Tao, he did not see Wei Tao, only Chen Tianan. In his eyes, he could only see the stronger Chen Tianan, the Silver King, and not anyone weaker than him. What a condescending man! The audience could not help but be shocked. Being completely ignored, Wei Tao was furious. Overlord Lion Armor. Wei Tao's terrifying body, filled with explosive power, suddenly collided with Jiang Fan. The fierce energy stirred up the air, blowing the robes of the audience. So fast, the audience could not help but exclaim, subconsciously sweating for Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan seemed to be a little careless this time. He was going to suffer this time. But, swish! Just as Wei Tao was about to collide, Jiang Fan tipped his toes and leaped 2 meters into the air, easily dodging the powerful impact. A hint of disdain and mockery appeared on Jiang Fan's face. I've already let you have one move. A cold voice floated into Wei Tao's ears. Wei Tao's expression changed. He had a bad feeling. Heavenly Eagle Thrust. Jiang Fan was in the air, his toes forming a hook. Using the momentum of the spin, his toes spun like a screw, piercing towards Wei Tao's neck. Bang! The tremendous force that came from his neck caused Wei Tao to kneel abruptly. Wei Tao's sturdy body was actually forced to kneel by Jiang Fan. Without waiting for Wei Tao to resist, Jiang Fan spun his feet again and kicked his temple. Wei Tao only had time to scream before he fainted from the kick. The Taiyang acupoint was one of the most dangerous acupoints in the human body. If one were to suffer a blow from it, they would only faint, which was considered a light injury. This Jiang Fan was so ruthless. Su Yu's heart turned slightly cold. Jiang Fan landed on the ground and easily defeated Wei Tao. His face was full of disdain as he glanced at Wei Tao. Can't even withstand a single blow. Let me tell you, Fan Li couldn't even last one move against me. What's the point of almost defeating him? Hiss! The sound of people gasping could be heard from below the stage. Fan Li, who was ranked 5th, could not even withstand a single blow from Jiang Fan? Jiang Fan has become stronger again. Previously, Fan Li could barely withstand 10 moves from him. But now, he can't even withstand a single blow? Teacher Jiang announced with a smile, Jiang Fan wins. Following that, Jiang Fan went up to the stage several times. Without exception, he defeated his opponent with one move. Of course, Su Yu was not inferior to him. He defeated his opponent with one move from his continuous jade leaf kick. Half a day later. Phew! Jiang Fan is so strong, he has already won 18 times in a row. And there's Su Yu, he has also won 18 times in a row. Without a doubt, Su Yu was the biggest dark horse in this silver assessment. Go Su Yu! I have faith in you. Some of the female students, who sympathized with Su Yu's experience and love, were cheering for him at that moment. Many of the silver students who had been at the bottom for a long time saw Su Yu as their role model and cheered for him. Of the 3,000 students who had passed the elimination round, 400 to 500 were cheering for him. Although the cheers were sparse, the words Su Yu could be heard from time to time. Those who did not know Su Yu started asking about his background and achievements. At the VIP seats, Housemaster Yi followed the crowd's cheers and shifted his gaze. As the head judge, Jiang Zhisher could not help but look at Su Yu. His face darkened. Why is it him? If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Jiang Zhisher would have forgotten about him. The Duke of Qin had repeatedly urged him to chase Su Yu out of the training institute and ruin his future. Jiang Zhisher did not take it to heart. With Su Yu's potential and abilities, he would definitely be eliminated. How would he be able to fight his way into the ranking round? Jiang Zhisher had an illusion. Was the Su Yu in front of him really the Su Yu he knew? Jiang Zhisher's face darkened. How could he mess up the matter of the Duke of Qin? However, with the housemaster present, he could not be overly biased. He could only act according to circumstances, but he was relieved to see that his son was present. With Fanner here, there was no doubt that Su Yu would not advance any further. On the arena, Teacher Jiang stared at Su Yu with displeasure. He had an impression of this person. Miss Xia admired his superb archery skills, so much so that she gifted him the Kailan bow. To think that other than archery skills, Su Yu's abilities were also impressive. With his perfect basic leg techniques, he had won 18 matches in a row. As such, he and Jiang Fan were only one match away from winning 19 matches in a row, achieving complete victory. Next round, Jiang Fan vs. Su Yu. Jiang Fan gracefully stepped onto the arena. In comparison, Su Yu was extremely clumsy. I'll let you have one move. Jiang Fan looked down at Su Yu, still not seeing Su Yu. Many people were secretly worried for Su Yu. Jiang Fan was very powerful. Just as the crowd was nervous, a discordant voice petrified them on the spot. Hey, with your nose in the air, aren't you afraid that birds will poop on you? Su Yu curled his lips. Pooh! Someone nearly spat out the mouthful of tea in his mouth. Many people below the arena covered their mouths and snickered. This Su Yu really had a sharp tongue. Jiang Fan's gaze turned cold. Humph! A useless piece of trash whose woman was stolen has the guts to mock me? Fine, since you're asking for it, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Jiang Fan lightly tapped the ground with his toes, displaying his movement technique. He moved like a ghost, his speed fast. When he was 3 meters away, he soared into the sky like a rock spreading its wings. Then, he spun and descended, his feet like the claws of a rock, aiming for Su Yu's head. Looking at his posture, he did not care if Su Yu would be injured. His attacks were ruthless. Su Yu's expression was calm. His eyes were as deep as the starry sky, without a trace of emotion. His sharp eyes searched for an opening in his opponent's defense. His right leg was like a whip, sweeping out. Slap! Jiang Fan twisted his left leg, blocking the kick. Then, his right leg was still like a claw, thrusting toward Su Yu. He sneered. Even if the basic leg technique is perfect, it cannot compare to a medium-level technique at the upper-class level. Scram! Jiang Fan's right leg thrust forward without any resistance. Su Yu's face was filled with mockery. At the critical moment, he changed his posture. Blue sky underworld. Punches and kicks were thrown out one after another, flowing smoothly and without any pause. A punch arrived, followed by a kick. As soon as the kick stopped, another punch came flying over. The punches and kicks intertwined, leaving afterimages. In that instant, it was difficult to distinguish the kicks from the punches. Jiang Fan's face turned stiff. He was in the air, so he had no choice but to use his legs to block. But he had no leverage. How could the speed of his legs be faster than the ferocious, continuous attacks? Thump! All of a sudden, Su Yu's leg shadow-kicked ferociously. Without any deviation, he kicked his opponent's crotch. Jiang Fan's face was pale and he gasped. After tumbling to the ground, he covered his crotch with both hands, his forehead dripping with cold sweat, not daring to move. Even the slightest movement would cause a heart-wrenching pain in his crotch. You dare hurt me? I will teach you a lesson. Jiang Fan glared at Su Yu, his eyes filled with anger. Su Yu did not hold back. Universal stroke continued, landing a punch on Jiang Fan's head, sending him flying out of the arena. The double pain caused Jiang Fan to faint. The people below the stage sucked in a cold breath. They had already considered Su Yu a dark horse, but they did not expect Su Yu to be stronger than they had imagined. Jiang Fan, who was ranked 4th, was no match for him. In an instant, the arena attracted everyone's attention. The defeat of Jiang Fan, who was ranked 4th, meant the birth of a strong martial artist comparable to the top 3 silver talents. Housemaster Yi, who had been paying attention to the arena, squeezed out a rare smile on his cold face. Universal stroke looks like it has been cultivated to stage 2 top class, achieving 4 consecutive strike. Jiang Fan's defeat is within reason. The expressions of the head referee, Jiang Zhisher, and the referee, teacher Jiang, suddenly changed. They rushed off the arena to check on Jiang Fan's injuries. Realizing that he had only fainted, they heaved a sigh of relief. Teacher Jiang fiercely turned his head. Su Yu, it was just a sparring match, why did you have to be so heavy-handed? Facing his fierce gaze, Su Yu had a matter-of-fact expression. Jiang Fan was ruthless in every aspect, even daring to kick Wei Tao's temple, a dangerous place. Teacher Jiang saw this but did not stop him. I thought this was a fight to the death, so I was a bit heavy-handed in order to protect myself. I did not expect that Jiang Fan would not be punished for being ruthless, but I, a student with no background, would be blamed for being ruthless. Sigh, if I had known, I would have stood still and let Jiang Fan beat me to death. Su Yu's face was full of regret. At that moment, countless hidden gazes shot over, filled with dissatisfaction. Housemaster Ye's gaze turned cold, and he let out a light grunt. Even if you want to protect your own family, you have to look at the situation. The head referee, Jiang Zhisher, had a bad feeling and glared at teacher Jiang. Do you have a brain? Aren't you looking for trouble with such obvious favoritism? While thinking, he announced impartially, after confirming that Su Yu is not suspected of cheating, Su Yu wins this match. They were checking to see if Su Yu was suspected of cheating? Not many people believed this high-sounding reason, but it successfully gave the brothers a way out. Otherwise, they would not have a good ending if they were to be angered by the public. Su Yu was first in the team with a record of 19 consecutive victories. At that moment, Su Yu's student number plate shone with a dazzling silver light, reaching the pinnacle of a silver student number plate. Looking at Su Yu, who was like an undefeatable dark horse, everyone had different reactions. Chen Feng's fingers dug into her flesh, and she said resentfully, "How did he become so strong in just a few days?" A large hand lightly patted her shoulder, and a cold, hoarse voice came, "What is Jiang Fan? In front of me, he did not even have the courage to look me in the eye. Su Yu defeating him is nothing." Chen Tiannan's expression was cold, his eyes indifferent, with a faint sense of invincibility and loneliness. The Silver King was an undefeatable existence among the Silver students. In a year where he rarely met a worthy opponent, he could only find a gold student to relieve his loneliness. Chapter 15. Jiang Xueqing was resting beside Qin Fun. She was a level 3 and had become the dark horse of the meet, taking first place in the group competition. She glanced at the situation with Su Yu's team, and her beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Su Yu was stronger than she had imagined, able to defeat Jiang Fan. She felt a slight tightness in her chest. She did not know why, but the stronger Su Yu was, the more uncomfortable she felt. She did not want to see Su Yu become stronger. At this moment, a gentle voice entered her ears. "Qing'er, if you meet Su Yu later, remember to be merciful. You are a level 3 and he is a level 2. If you strike too hard, you might hurt him. Qin Fen seemed gentle, but he sighed. After all, you were once a couple. If you drew your swords against each other, my sins would be even greater. I am the cause of your current state. Jiang Xueqing froze, then understood. That's right. She was a level 3. Wouldn't it be easy for her to deal with a level 2? If she met Su Yu later, she would defeat him without a doubt. The uneasiness in her heart dissipated. Jiang Xueqing turned back, her eyes gentle as she gazed at Qin Fen. Brother Feng, you are too kind. You do not owe Su Yu anything, you do not need to blame yourself. As she spoke, she looked at Su Yu again, her eyes cold and emotionless. He and I are no longer connected. From now on, my body and heart will belong to Brother Feng alone. As for Su Yu, I will defeat him with my absolute strength and let him know that he is not worthy of me, Jiang Xueqing. Jiang Xueqing coldly glanced at Su Yu. Qin Fen's eyes hid a cold smile. He did not care about Su Yu's life or death. He was just taking the opportunity to comfort Jiang Xueqing, afraid that she would be swayed by Su Yu's rise. However, when he heard, "My body and heart belong only to Big Brother Feng," he felt his stomach heat up. Jiang Xueqing was too beautiful, like a fox fairy. Qin Fen felt lucky to be able to pursue her. As a junior duke, he had seen too many beautiful women, but someone like Jiang Xueqing was extremely rare. Unfortunately, even though she was his girlfriend in name, she had always abided by her duties. He had never even touched her hands, let alone in bed. Qin Feng had created a few accidents. He wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to have skin-to-skin contact and gradually get rid of the barrier in her heart. He wanted her to get used to the contact between a man and a woman. Then, he would slowly develop his relationship with her. Finally, he would get her into bed and completely occupy this breathtakingly beautiful body. Unfortunately, although Jiang Xueqing was vain, she was indeed very pure. The moment they came into contact, she immediately moved away, deliberately keeping a distance from him. Qin Feng knew that he had made Jiang Xueqing unhappy, so he didn't do this again. Haha, you just have to know what you're doing. A month from now, when I take first place in the Golden Student Competition, I'll use this honor to ask my father to help us get engaged. What do you think? Qin Feng was very excited. Jiang Xueqing was delicate. Her body trembled slightly, and she bit her lip lightly. She looked at the ordinary Su Yu from afar, and after a long while, she nodded lightly. All right. With the word good, she was destined to never be able to turn back. In a month, she would be Qin Feng's fiancée and Marquis Qin's daughter-in-law. She would be a woman who would grace the world. From then on, she would enjoy a lifetime of glory, splendor, and wealth, standing above millions of people. Su Yu. Don't blame me, it's your incompetence. My beauty should not be buried by you. Silently sighing in her heart, Jiang Xueqing closed her eyes. Qin Feng was overjoyed. Once she became his fiancée, intimate contact would undoubtedly increase by a lot. Getting her into bed was just around the corner. At the thought of straddling this delicate body that countless men dreamed of, conquering her, and riding her, Qin Feng's anticipation was indescribable. In a month, at the Golden Student Competition, I, Qin Feng, will take first place. An unparalleled conviction filled Qin Feng's mind. Li Minghai's eyes were filled with suspicion, and he stared at Su Yu for a long time. That similar fist and leg technique reminded him of the masked man he met in the Twilight Mountain. What's wrong? Li Mingho was packing his things and leaving with Li Minghai. He was ranked 30th in the silver rankings, unable to fight his way into the top 10. Li Minghai's battle had already ended, and he was preparing to leave. Li Minghai doubtfully said, I feel that the person wanted by the Duke of Xianyu is similar to him. That fist and leg technique is very similar. Is that so? Li Mingho lightly shook his head. That is universal stroke. There are many people who practice it. Just now, at least 10 people used this technique, but the level of mastery was not as high as you said. To be able to hit 8 times in a row, that is the level of mastery of Stage 3 lower class. Only gold students can successfully practice it. Li Minghai thought about it and agreed. This Su Yu was just a pitiful person who had been abandoned. Although he did not know how his abilities had improved by leaps and bounds, it was really difficult to practice universal stroke to a higher level. If I didn't have to hurry back to chat with the young princess to relieve her boredom, I really want to see how Xian Lifei will teach him a lesson later. Glancing at Su Yu, Li Minghai unwillingly left. Su Yu, who was secretly watching the two of them leave, heaved a sigh of relief. With Li Minghai gone, he could do whatever he wanted. 2 hours later, the silver ranking competition came to an end. The last highlight of the competition had finally arrived. Jiang Zhisher, as the chief referee, stood in the central arena. I announce, the last battle, the battle for the title of Silver King, has officially begun. Let's welcome the first-place winners of the 10 teams to the arena. Su Yu and the others stepped into the arena one after another. They were the ones with the highest winning streaks among the 20-man teams. Jiang Xueqing was among them. The Silver King, Chen Tianan, was still firmly seated in his seat. Only the strongest among the 10 people on the arena would be qualified to challenge the former Silver King. The 10 of you will draw lots to compete. In the first round, 5 will be eliminated, and the remaining 5 will compete. 4 of you will fight, and the remaining 1 will directly enter the semifinals, Jiang Zhisher announced. Su Yu and the others stepped forward to compete. His luck was not bad, as his opponent was the 6th-ranked silver fighter from the previous batch. He won this battle without any suspense. Jiang Xueqing's luck was also good, as she easily won against the 8th-ranked student. Following that, the 3rd-ranked Su Sin won. The 2nd-ranked Xian Lifei won. The last person was the 5th-ranked Fan Li. He was lucky enough to meet the 9th-ranked silver fighter, and luckily entered the semifinals. As such, there were only 5 people left. Begin drawing lots. One of the lots is blank. Those who draw it will not need to compete and will directly enter the semifinals, Jiang Zhisher announced indifferently. The 5 of them drew lots one by one. Su Yu calmly looked at his wooden stick, and he was stunned. Isn't my luck a little too good? He saw that there was no opponent's name on his lot, which meant that he had directly entered the finals. Of the other 4, other than Jiang Xueqing, who did not even glance at him, the other 3 all looked at him enviously. Su Yu was happy to watch from the side, and at the same time, observe their abilities. The battle between Jiang Xueqing and Fan Li was not very interesting. Jiang Xueqing, with her level 3 cultivation base, defeated Fan Li in 2 moves and entered the semifinals. Su Yu's focus was on Xian Lifei and Su Senator. Of these 2, one was the 2nd-ranked silver fighter, and it was said that he had almost succeeded in challenging Chen Tianan. The other was 3rd-ranked silver fighter, and his abilities could not be underestimated. Both of them were level 3 lower tier, and the difference in their abilities was unfathomable. Xian Lifei smiled as she stepped onto the stage. Her coquettish figure outlined a seductive curve, attracting many male students to sneak glances at her. Youths were shy and full of lust. Their gazes met. This Xian Lifei was like a little demon. Hee, brother Su Sen, you have to go easy on me. Xian Lifei smiled coquettishly. Su Sen's face was gloomy. After experiencing Li Qian's betrayal and being defeated by Li Mingho, he was frustrated and did not have the mood to respond. He said indifferently, "Let's begin." Swift horizontal knife. He pulled out his knife with a backhand, his expression slightly fierce, as if he could only maintain this state during battle. Xian Lifei smiled and patted her waist. From a colorful pocket 2 purple bats flew out. Different from ordinary bats, the purple bats exuded a strong demonic energy, giving people a fierce feeling. Level 1 demonic beast, purple-blooded bat? Someone recognized the origin of this object and was shocked. Su Yu's pupils shrank slightly. The power of a level 1 demonic beast was still vivid in his mind. The fire dragon snake was so difficult to deal with. However, based on intuition, it seemed that the purple-blooded bat was far less powerful than the fire dragon snake. That's a young level 1 demonic beast. Its strength is only around level 3 lower tier. Look at how scared you all are. A slightly knowledgeable old student curled his lip. The surrounding crowd suddenly understood. So that's how it is. If it was a mature level 1 demonic beast, Xian Lifei would have long become the Silver King. However, even if it's a young one, it's still very dangerous. The purple-blooded bat can emit ultrasonic waves that can't be heard by the human ear, causing symptoms such as fainting. It will take the opportunity to pounce and suck blood. The toxins contained in its body will also be injected into the human body, paralyzing them and making them vulnerable. In the forest, purple-blooded bats often live in groups. Once encountered, even a strong level 4 martial artist will be paralyzed by the poison and then slowly sucked dry by a group of purple-blooded bats. Hearing this, those who knew for the first time shuddered. In the arena, Su Sen's expression changed. The long knife in his hand changed from a slash to a horizontal sweep, trying to sweep away the 2 purple-blooded bats. Xian Lifei pursed her lips into a sweet smile and whistled. Chirp. Suddenly, the 2 purple-blooded bats took the opportunity to open their mouths and emit a silent ultrasonic wave. Su Sen's body suddenly trembled and he quickly retreated. He gritted his teeth and frowned, a trace of pain spreading across his face. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xian Lifei closed in and lightly patted Su Sen's body with her tender little hands. Su Sen wanted to resist, but the 2 purple-blooded bats took the opportunity to pounce and emit ultrasonic waves at close range, slightly hindering Su Sen's movement. In the end, Su Sen suffered a blow and was knocked out of the arena. Jiang Zhisher nodded slightly. Xian Lifei was indeed the second silver student, suppressing Su Sen. Xian Lifei wins. As such, there were only 3 people left in the arena: Su Yu, Jiang Xueqing, and Xian Lifei. Among the 3, only one would be left to challenge the Silver King, Chen Tianan. Jiang Zhisher secretly glanced at Su Yu with a cold look in his eyes. This person's performance was amazing. From an ordinary silver student who was about to be eliminated, he had made it to where he was today. Unfortunately, he had to stop here. Jiang Xueqing and Xian Lifei were both strong level 3 martial artists. Su Yu had no chance of winning. The semi-finals officially begin. First round, Su Yu vs Jiang Xueqing. Chapter 16. Interesting. This is too interesting. A mediocre person who was abandoned by Jiang Xueqing actually walked in front of her and challenged her. I really want to know what Jiang Xueqing is thinking right now. The 2 of them went up the stage. Jiang Xueqing's clear eyes did not waver in the slightest. She looked at Su Yu as if he was a stranger, cold beyond compare. Even though Su Yu had defied the trend and stepped into the ranks of Silver Peak, she did not feel the slightest bit of regret. Su Yu, admit defeat. You are no match for me. Not in the past, not now, not in the future, never in the future. Jiang Xueqing's eyes were filled with wind and snow. Her words did not have the slightest bit of warmth. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. He looked at her as if he was looking at a stranger, remaining silent. It was a waste of his saliva and energy to speak to such a heartless woman who thought so highly of herself. He quietly waited for the judge to announce the start of the duel. Other than that, he was unwilling to say anything more to her. Receiving a silent response, Jiang Xueqing thought that he was being stubborn and unwilling to admit defeat. Shaking her head slightly, her brows creased. Jiang Xueqing's eyes were filled with disgust, unrepentant. Born in poverty, you should lower yourself and stubbornly refuse to admit defeat. What's the use of that other than asking for trouble? Do you know why I left you? Because you have no abilities, no background, yet you hold onto your pitiful pride. You hit a wall everywhere and even caused me to be looked down upon by others." Jiang Xueqing's tone was filled with reprimand. She seemed to have recalled the past, her hatred exploding forth. "That's why I left you. I chose my own life. Do you see that, in the past, I was slightly weaker than you? But now I have far surpassed you. In the future, the gap between us will only grow wider." Jiang Xueqing's shoulders trembled slightly, her face filled with relief. She felt that she had finally walked onto a bright path. When she looked at Su Yu again, her eyes regained their coldness and heartlessness. "Su Yu, you are not worthy of me. You were not worthy of me in the past, and you will never be worthy of me in the future. Remember my words, you will never be worthy of me. You will never be worthy of me." These words were shouted in front of thousands of people, in front of the entire school. Everyone looked at each other. Some were sympathetic, some were gloating, and some were disgusted. In a hidden location, a woman as beautiful as a fairy from a painting frowned slightly. She glanced at Jiang Xueqing with some displeasure. Her gaze landed on Su Yu. The beautiful eyes of the celestial being contained a shred of sympathy and gentleness. "So, his name is Su Yu. He is clearly a genius in archery, and his talent in cultivation is not bad. Yet, he received such treatment. That Jiang Xueqing will regret it in the future." Jiang Zhisher secretly mocked him. Fighting over a woman with the little duke would only lead to such a sad ending. Su Yu was the first person who had ever been told by a woman in the past that he would never be worthy of her. At first, Su Yu did not want to bother with her. However, what he did not like was that this woman's words were becoming more and more outrageous. It was as if it was Su Yu's fault that she had fallen into someone else's embrace. Stretching his body lazily, Su Yu shook his head and said, "Since you've become a whore, don't put up a memorial arch, okay? You were the one who was vain and threw yourself into the arms of another man, but you pushed the responsibility to me. Also, please don't think too highly of yourself. I, Su Yu, am not interested in a frivolous woman like you," Su Yu said indifferently. He looked at Jiang Xueqing from afar as if she was a stranger. The crowd was in an uproar. The Su Yu who had once knelt before Jiang Xueqing and begged her to change her mind. The Su Yu who had once drowned himself in a lake because of love. He had actually called Jiang Xueqing a whore in front of everyone. Not only was the crowd dumbfounded, even Jiang Xueqing herself was stunned. In her memory, Su Yu had always treated her like a treasure. He held her in his hands, afraid that she would shatter. He had also held her in his mouth, afraid that she would melt. He did not even dare to speak loudly. Seeing that she was the slightest bit unhappy, he would be so scared that he did not even dare to breathe loudly. When she scolded him, not only did he not dare to get angry, he would even laugh along with her. She had never thought that such a Su Yu would one day scold her as a whore in front of everyone. For a moment, she even suspected that the person standing in front of her was Su Yu. It felt like they were two completely different people. Coming to her senses, Jiang Xueqing's jade-like face flushed red. Where was her dignity in front of the entire school? However, she did not think that when she reprimanded Su Yu in front of the whole school, as if he was a good-for-nothing, he would never be worthy of her. At that time, how could Su Yu not have lost all his dignity? In the end, she only had her own selfish eyes, and had never cared about Su Yu's feelings. Jiang Xueqing felt that countless people were staring at her. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. This was a humiliation that she had never experienced in her life. A wave of hatred, thick hatred, filled her heart. Jiang Xueqing was so angry that her body trembled. Her breasts rose and fell violently. "Su Yu, I hate you." Jiang Xueqing's eyes were filled with anger and hatred. "Hate all you want." Su Yu lightly shrugged his shoulders. Her hatred could not cause any ripples in his heart. After saying this, Su Yu tilted his head to look at the judge. I say, Jiang Zhisher, have you seen enough? Actually, the duel should have started a long time ago, but Jiang Zhisher was happy to see Su Yu make a fool of himself. He pretended to organize his words to stall for time. Jiang Zhisher's eyes flashed with anger. Just as he was about to scold Su Yu, he met Housemaster Ye's dissatisfied gaze. This duel had dragged on for too long. Knowing that he could not delay any longer, he could only suppress his anger and announce, "Duel start. Su Yu, I will not let you off." Jiang Xueqing was filled with hatred. She lunged forward like a maniac, her attacks vicious. Colorful ribbon in the sky. Jiang Xueqing attacked furiously. Colorful ribbon in the sky was a medium-level cultivation technique. 3 ribbons shot out from her sleeves, dancing in her palms like 3 whips. Creak! One of the ribbons brushed past the ground, scraping off a layer of skin like a knife. If it had landed on a human, at least a layer of flesh would have been scraped off. This Jiang Xueqing, her attacks are vicious. Just watch, if Su Yu is no match for her, he should know to surrender. He is not stupid. Jiang Xueqing's heart was merciless. She only had one thought, and that was to torture him. She wanted to torture this damned man to the greatest extent possible. Don't even think of leaving the arena unscathed. Hearing her threatening words, Su Yu's expression turned cold. The moment the ribbons attacked, Su Yu's face turned cold. His figure moved like the wind, punching and kicking. Universal Underworld. Jiang Xueqing's 3 ribbons looked like they were moving at the same time, but Su Yu's eyesight was good. He could see that the 3 ribbons were moving in a certain rhythm. As long as he attacked them one by one, he would be able to break this technique. In a split second, he attacked. First, he punched the first ribbon, quickly and accurately repelling it from the side. Then, without any gap between attacks, he attacked with his leg, kicking the second ribbon that was about to move. Immediately after, he punched the last ribbon. Finally, his leg was like a whip, flying across the sky, accurately kicking Jiang Xueqing's chest. Jiang Xueqing's expression changed. She immediately used her arms to block the kick, but a huge force was transmitted to her. What was more frightening was that her opponent's punches and kicks did not stop. They were as dense as a storm, not giving her any chance to breathe. 4 consecutive hits, 8 consecutive hits, 16 consecutive hits. Finally, Jiang Xueqing could not withstand the huge force. With a pathetic cry, she was kicked out of the arena by Su Yu. This was the first time Su Yu had used Universal Underworld at full force. It was used against the woman he used to be with. There was no mercy. Standing on the arena, Su Yu looked down at the injured Jiang Xueqing, who was lying on the ground, her eyes filled with shock. "Looks like you are not as strong as you imagined. You were weaker than me in the past, and you are still weaker than me now." He could not be bothered to look at her. He returned to the center of the arena and closed his eyes to rest. "I actually lost. A level 3 lost to a level 2. And I lost to the man I had once abandoned." She felt that she had left Su Yu far behind on the path of cultivation. But the reality was that Su Yu had left her behind. In that moment, Jiang Xueqing could not accept the cruel reality. In her eyes, Su Yu was only a weak and cowardly person with mediocre talent. But today, after she had improved by leaps and bounds, when she thought she was going to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, just as she was about to soar into the sky, Su Yu suddenly struck, slapping her down from the sky with a single slap. Such a cruel reality was like a bucket of cold water splashed on her, drenching her heart. Qin Feng rushed over, glaring angrily at Su Yu. He then supported Jiang Xueqing with concern, but was rejected by her, not allowing him to touch her. Struggling to get up, Jiang Xueqing's eyes were filled with hatred. "Brother Feng, defeat him for me. As long as you defeat him, I will be yours." Jiang Xueqing's gaze was resolute. She knew that Qin Feng was lusting after her beauty. She also knew that the only thing that attracted Qin Feng to her was her beauty. Thus, she would not let Qin Feng touch her easily, as this was her only asset. Qin Feng was overjoyed, his heart thumping. Jiang Xueqing was finally willing to let him fight? Everything, as long as she defeated Su Yu? But according to the Institute's rules, gold students could not challenge silver students. The goal was to protect silver students from being bullied. But there was an exception. That was the gold competition in a month. The top 3 gold students could invite the top 3 silver students to compete on stage, highlighting the gap between gold and silver students, and encouraging silver students to improve. The silver students who were invited could not disobey. Alright. In a month, I will easily defeat him and obtain the honor of the Gold King. Qin Feng was elated. According to their agreement, after obtaining the honor of the Gold King, Jiang Xueqing would agree to his engagement. Once he became the Golden King, he would be engaged to her, and he would be able to enjoy her beautiful body. Just the thought of conquering such a beauty and riding her made Qin Feng excited. He couldn't wait for the next month to come. No. A month is too long, I can't wait. As long as Su Yu was around, she would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Qin Feng's mind cleared up a little. He thought for a moment and said, "How about I think of a way to chase him out of the institute?" Jiang Xueqing coldly nodded. Alright. Ruin his future. Jiang Xueqing was afraid that Su Yu would rise higher and higher. She was afraid that she would regret it one day. Housemaster Ye's eyes flashed. What a powerful brat. Universal stroke is a difficult technique to cultivate, but he has cultivated it to stage 3 upper class. He is just one step away from achieving the top class of unlimited consecutive strike. After defeating Jiang Xueqing, Su Yu's popularity instantly reached its peak. There were many cheering for him. Chapter 17. Su Yu used his own actions to get rid of the humiliation. Su Sun let out a long sigh, feeling both envious and dejected. The atmosphere of the audience was ignited to a climax. Su Yu, the dark horse, was too strong, simply amazing. Chen Tianan stared coldly at the arena, a cruel smile on his face. I didn't expect him to make it this far. Chen Feng clenched his fists and said bitterly, "No matter how strong he is no match for my brother." Everyone was looking forward to Su Yu's next battle. Semi-finals, last match, Su Yu vs Xian Lifei. Xian Lifei's strength did not need to be described. Su Sin was easily defeated by her. Little brother is very strong. You'll have to go easy on me later. Xian Lifei smiled, but deep in her pupils was a hint of coldness. Before Li Mingho left, he had instructed her to teach this kid a lesson, so she would let the purple-blooded bats bite him twice to poison him, and then give him a few punches. Su Yu smiled and cupped his hands. "Senior, please show mercy. Let the match begin," Jiang Zhisher announced indifferently. Xian Lifei smiled and patted her colorful pocket. 2 purple-blooded bats flew out. Su Yu immediately prepared himself for battle. The threat of ultrasound was smaller the further away one was from it. The best way to avoid ultrasound was to stay away from the bats. However, the 2 bats were extremely fast. Su Sun could not avoid the bats and was defeated by Xian Lifei. "Go!" Xian Lifei whistled. Whoosh! The 2 purple-blooded bats immediately flew towards Su Yu at an incredible speed. He could no longer hide. Xian Lifei was too strong. Any mistake would result in defeat. Cloud Shadow Duckweed Trace. Su Yu gave a low grunt, displaying the lightness technique that he had hidden for a long time. His figure was like the wind, leaping lightly like the shadow of a cloud, graceful and natural. It was also like duckweed drifting on the waves, catching a glimpse of it. The audience only saw a blur in front of their eyes. Su Yu had leaped 3 meters forward at an exaggerated speed. His speed was more than twice as fast as the purple-blooded bats. Xian Lifei hid to the side, secretly waiting for Su Yu to be poisoned. How could she guard against Su Yu hiding so deeply? Xian Lifei quickly summoned the bat to fly back. At the same time, she spread her legs and ran away with a cry. How could Suyu do as she wished? The speed of the first level, Cloud Shadow track, was not inferior to Xian Lifiai's. The space on the stage was narrow. At the same speed, there was not much space to escape. After a few breaths, Xian Lifei was shocked and angry. She had no choice but to confront Suyu directly. Blue Sky Underworld. Suyu used his strongest offensive technique without any hesitation in close combat. At this moment, the purple-blooded bats were very close behind him. He had to end this battle quickly. Xian Lifei was aware of the situation. She resisted with all her might, delaying Suyu. Once the purple-blooded bats arrived, she would take control of the situation. Unfortunately, her expertise lay in controlling demonic beasts, not close combat. Blue Sky Underworld's punches and kicks were extremely fast and did not stop. They were like raindrops, airtight. The seemingly long 16 consecutive strikes were completed in a breath's time. The last kick was so powerful that Xian Lifei was kicked in the soft chest and flew out of the ring. At this time, the purple blood bats had just arrived. Having lost their master, they stopped attacking and flew back to their master's side. Xian Lifei clutched her aching chest, her face blushing as she glared at Suyu. Really, he dared to kick anywhere. She had lost this battle unjustly. The opponent had hidden such a powerful movement technique. If not for that, how could she have been defeated? But no matter what, she had lost. She reluctantly exited the ring. As she passed through the dark tunnel, Qin Feng flashed out. Xian Lifei, do something for me and I'll give you a top-grade spirit elixir. Xian Lifei's expression changed as she exclaimed, top-grade spirit elixir? A low-grade spirit elixir required 100 taels of silver. A middle-grade spirit elixir required 500 taels of silver. But a top-grade spirit elixir required a whole 2,500 taels of silver. Even if she hunted in the Twilight Mountains for a whole year, she would not be able to obtain so many taels of silver. Apart from people with illustrious family backgrounds like the Junior Duke, who could easily come up with so many taels of silver. What do you want me to do? Of course, you can forget about touching me. Xian Lifei's beautiful eyes were blazing, but she was also vigilant. Qin Feng had also had designs on her. Qin Feng curled his lips in disdain. He was about to obtain Jiang Xueqing, and Xian Lifei had no interest in it for the time being. I want you to do this for me. Qin Feng cautiously handed over a piece of paper that recorded what he wanted Xian Lifei to do. After Xian Lifei memorized it, he burned it, leaving no evidence. His father was at a critical moment. As his son, he could not add to his father's troubles. Xian Lifei was shocked when she saw it. She hesitated for a moment, then clenched her teeth and agreed, okay. But the elixir must be given to me first. After some thought, Qin Feng slightly nodded and reluctantly handed it to her. Although he was a junior duke, it did not mean he could spend money as he pleased. His monthly allowance was only about 3,000 taels of silver. Now, he had taken out 2,500 taels of top-grade spirit elixir in one go. It must be done. Qin Feng disappeared into the darkness. With his identity and family background, he was not afraid that Xian Lifei would steal the spirit elixir and escape. Xian Lifei nodded with a smile, of course. Looking back at Suyu, Xian Lifei smiled sweetly. Little brother, I'm sorry. For my spirit elixir, I'll sacrifice myself. In the arena, Jiang Zhisher could not believe it. After a long time, he took a deep breath and coldly announced, Semifinals, Suyu wins. In the VIP seats, Vice Housemaster Yi had a strange look in his eyes. His indifferent face had a rare trace of a gratified smile. Cloud Shadow is such a difficult light body cultivation technique, and none of the gold students have successfully cultivated it. This boy's comprehension is quite amazing. How could he know that Suyu could cheat? Others could comprehend it for one day, but he could comprehend it for 10 days. Others could comprehend it for 10 days, but he had already comprehended it for 100 days. Therefore, he had the opportunity to comprehend the light body cultivation technique that others found difficult to cultivate. The audience was thoroughly excited. The battle for the Silver King title, the ultimate battle, was finally about to begin. Su Yu, go. Defeat Chen Tianan. Defeat him, and the next Silver King will be you. The students were excited, especially the silver students who had been in the middle and lower reaches for a long time. The Silver King, in their minds, was the Supreme King, an existence that they had to look up to, a level that they could never touch. But Su Yu, who was also at the bottom of the silver class, had turned the tables and fought with the dazzling Silver King for the crown. In an instant, Su Yu had become the spiritual sustenance of countless silver students, the target they chased after, the dark horse that they placed their hopes on. The crowd was boiling. Wild roars, shouts, and roars accompanied their boiling blood, accompanied by their expectations, accompanied by their wishes, majestically surging out. The sky was filled with crazy roars, shaking the earth, echoing throughout the entire training institute. No one could remain calm, no one could remain calm, no one could act as if nothing had happened. They were all infected by the boiling blood. The strongest dark horse in history, and the strongest Silver King, fighting for the supreme crown. Jiang Zhishe, with disdain in his eyes, shouted, "Silver King! Chen Tianan! Go! Chen Tianan! Go! Go!" The echoing shouts stirred their blood, boiled their hearts, and responded to their eagerness. Chen Tianan, with the silver crown on his head, rose from the unique silver throne. A majestic aura, looking down on the world, approached. "Very good. You being able to come this far is enough for me to make a move." Chen Tianan, the strongest among the silver students, approached step by step. Chen Feng gazed at his brother's back, his eyes full of worship. Stepping into the arena, Chen Tianan took off the crown. Jiang Zhishe took it back and announced indifferently, "The battle for the Silver King officially begins. The winner will be the new Silver King." Chen Tianan stood with his hands behind his back, not making a move, but staring coldly at Su Yu. "Make your move, or you won't have the chance to." No one in the audience felt arrogant, because the Silver King had the right. Su Yu smiled lightly, "No need. I've said before, the Silver King has changed owners today, and my methods are fair and square, not your charity." Chen Tianan's face was cold, his voice hoarse and harsh. "Your courage is commendable, but unfortunately, you overestimate yourself. How can the light of a firefly compete with the brilliance of the moon?" "What do you think of Xian Lifiai's ability?" Chen Tianan suddenly asked. Su Yu pondered for a moment, then gave a fair assessment, "Very strong." "Then let me tell you, a week ago, she challenged me, and I defeated her in one move," Chen Tianan said indifferently. The audience was in an uproar. Xian Lifei, with her powerful abilities, defeated her in one move? Hiss! He is indeed the Silver King, the one with the strongest potential, truly terrifying. Su Yu's expression was grave. Chen Tianan was the strongest opponent he had ever faced, but he would never admit defeat. "How can I know the outcome without a fight?" Su Yu took a deep breath and prepared himself for battle. Chen Tianan stood with his hands behind his back. "All right, I'll reluctantly make a move against you this once." "Angry Buddha!" Chen Tianan let out a low growl, his skin glowing a faint bronze color, like a living bronze man. Lord Ye's eyes revealed a look of surprise. "That's right. He has already cultivated the low-grade Buddha's Fury Vajra technique to the consummate level. His skin and flesh are indestructible, and ordinary attacks will not be able to harm him. Ghost Shadow Technique." Chen Tianan growled again, displaying another technique. The fingernails on his palms gradually turned a gloomy green, glowing with a cold luster. An eerie aura emanated from his fingernails. At the same time, his eyes glowed scarlet, and his lips began to turn a dark green. From afar, he looked like a ghost. Not to mention fighting, just looking at him would make one's heart go cold. Housemaster Yi was surprised. Ghost Shadow Technique, a top-notch medium-level technique with power comparable to a top-notch technique, has been cultivated to stage 2 by him? Not simple. At once, Su Yu felt a cold and gloomy aura, and a thick sense of threat assaulted his senses. Especially the 10 gloomy green ghost claws, Su Yu could feel that even a touch would be extremely dangerous. Swish, Chen Tianan crossed 3 meters with 1 step, closing in on Su Yu in 3 steps. The cold ghost claws viciously clawed at Su Yu's chest. Su Yu was on full alert, immediately activating Cloud Shadow. Like the falling shadow of a cloud, like duckweed in a river, he narrowly avoided the attack. Creak, Su Yu dodged, but a corner of his clothes was touched by the gloomy green nails. Chapter 18. What a strong poison! Su Yu's expression changed slightly, but he did not panic. Taking advantage of the fact that Chen Tiannan's palms were still weak, he suddenly attacked. Universal Stroke. Su Yu seized the opportunity and quickly attacked. His fists and legs were like shadows, connected smoothly. Every punch was followed by a kick. The attack was fierce and continuous. Chen Tianan had to use his arms to block his chest. Clang. Strangely, Su Yu's fists and legs felt like they were hitting an iron plate when they landed on Chen Tiannan's arms. Chen Tianan was only forced back half a step with each attack. 16 consecutive attacks had only pushed him back 8 steps, causing no damage. The angry Vajra Buddha's defense was amazing. It's useless. How can a firefly compete with the sun and moon? Chen Tianan laughed coldly. Taking advantage of the end of Su Yu's 16 consecutive attacks, he attacked Su Yu's chest. Creak, Su Yu dodged, but the front of his shirt turned into pus. One attack was useless. Su Yu's expression darkened, but his eyes glowed. During the consecutive attacks, he had been multitasking. Sensing that his opponent's skin was indestructible, he immediately turned to look for his opponent's weakness. Although it was only for a short period of time, he still noticed something strange. That was, when Chen Tianan used the Ghost Shadow technique, the angry Vajra Buddha would pause for a moment, and a palm-sized muscle on his chest would return to its normal color. Using 2 techniques at the same time required strong coordination, and Chen Tianan had not yet achieved a smooth connection. But that moment was too short, and it would only be exposed when Chen Tianan attacked. Rushing forward would be extremely dangerous. With a pensive look, Su Yu continuously dodged and occasionally counterattacked. The two of them, one chasing and the other fleeing, intertwined with each other on the stage. 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves, 4 moves. After more than 60 moves, they were still locked in a stalemate. Although Chen Tianan was powerful, Su Yu's movement techniques were extraordinary. Of course, Chen Tianan firmly held the upper hand. Chen Tianan's eyes were cold. Su Yu had defeated Xian Lifei, so he was not simple. To be able to last so long against him, but Chen Tianan would not be able to last long. The head judge, Jiang Zhisher, was sneering in his heart, but his face was fair. Su Yu, if you only run and do not fight, within 10 moves there will be no winner. Chen Tianan is declared the winner. The audience felt that it was unfair. Su Yu hadn't been defeated yet. He was only at a disadvantage. It was obvious that he was trying to make things difficult for Su Yu. Su Yu creased his brows and coldly glanced at Jiang Zhisher. After defeating his son, Jiang Fan, this person bore a grudge and was biased. As such, he could only use that move. Su Yu no longer dodged. Instead of retreating, he advanced and faced the attack head-on. Chen Tianan smirked. Finally not hiding anymore? Dark ghost skill. The ghastly green fingernails left a string of broken lines in the air. All of a sudden, Su Yu's pupils turned into crystal pupils. In an instant, time and space around him slowed down. Chen Tiannan's every move slowed down by 30% in his eyes. The flaw in his chest was clearly visible. Universal stroke. Su Yu bellowed. In the eyes of others, Su Yu's speed had suddenly increased by more than 30%. Shuar's 16 consecutive strikes were completed in a breath's time. Bang bang bang. Chen Tianan spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. What's going on? How did the opponent's speed suddenly soar to level 4 lower tier? Lord Ye's eyes were filled with surprise. Qin Tianan could not believe it. How is this possible? His body flying backward told Qin Tianan that everything was real. He was actually going to lose. His cold eyes flashed with viciousness. If I lose, don't think you'll get away with it. Whoosh! A ray of black light shot out from Qin Tianan's eyes. It was extremely fast. The crowd only saw a blur before the black shadow entered Su Yu's body. Su Yu's whole body shook. He felt as if some obscure and indescribable thing had broken into his brain, fiercely destroying everything. He immediately understood what this was, the rumored secret technique of the soul. The soul was the weakest part of a person. Once it was attacked, the best-case scenario would be physical discomfort, and the worst-case scenario would be the soul shattering and death. Lord Ye's expression changed. Not good. Its demonic eyes. With Su Yu's cultivation level, his mind may be permanently damaged and he will become a demented person. He wanted to save Su Yu, but he was too far away. Su Yu's brain suddenly felt a piercing pain. His fragile soul trembled in unease. The cold, corrosive energy quickly destroyed his brain. Seeing the impending danger, the divine nine-dragon cauldron in his brain gently vibrated. A wisp of spiritual liquid flowed out of the small cauldron and slid down the cauldron. The pain quickly weakened, and the obscure thing that had invaded his brain was erased. In the eyes of others, Su Yu's body had merely trembled for a moment before recovering. Only he knew the danger he had just been in. With a cold gaze, Su Yu activated Cloud Shadow and leaped forward, catching up to Chen Tianan who was flying backward. A fist filled with blood energy smashed heavily into Chen Tianan's head. How could you be fine? Chen Tianan's face took a heavy blow. His lips were smashed by the huge force, blood spurting out and several teeth falling out. Su Yu did not stop. He kicked Chen Tianan's waist. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. The furious Su Yu's fists and legs were like shadows, his attacks airtight. Until Chen Tianan fell from midair to the bottom of the arena. While heavily falling off the arena, Chen Tianan spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body was in so much pain that he fainted. Everyone fixed their eyes on it and gasped. Not only were many of Chen Tianan's bones broken, but his face was badly mutilated. He looked miserable and seriously injured. Only then did Su Yu gradually restrain the anger in his eyes. If not for the help of the divine nine-dragon cauldron, would he not have become an idiot? Chen Tianan was vicious. How could Su Yu be lenient? Jiang Zhisher's eyes were gloomy. The student that the Duke wanted to deal with had become the Silver King. Dealing with him in the future would be a variable. No way. He could not be allowed to become the Silver King. How dare you? Jiang Zhisher's eyes flashed. He slammed the table and leaped onto the arena, angrily trying to capture Su Yu. How dare you use such a vicious method in a friendly match? Kneel and be captured. The mountainous pressure made it difficult for Su Yu to resist. Jiang Zhisher was a level 4 peak martial artist. How could Su Yu resist? Old bastard, abusing his position to avenge a personal grudge. Su Yu was not the same as he was in the past. Even if he could not win, he would not sit and wait for death. Netherworld Azure Drop. Under the intense pressure of the blood, Su Yu was unwilling to resist. 2 consecutive hits, 4 consecutive hits, 8 consecutive hits, 16 consecutive hits. How dare you resist? That's one more crime. Jiang Zhisher's face was cold as he easily blocked the attacks. After the 16 consecutive hits, he closed in. A palm filled with a strong force slammed into Su Yu's head. How was this a capture? It was clearly a serious injury. It looked like Su Yu was about to be hit for no reason. Whoosh! Suddenly, from the VIP spectator stands, a terrifying air current shot out. Poof! Jiang Zhishir was instantly hit. As a level 4 peak martial artist, he could not withstand a single blow. He was sent flying several meters by the air current. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and a bloody hole appeared on the side of his waist. What a disgrace! A cold voice came from the VIP seat. Housemaster Ye's long white robe and black hair fluttered without wind. His cold eyes were filled with indifference. The students could not see that Chen Tianan had used such a dangerous soul technique. How could Jiang Zhishir not see it? He had stood by and not stopped Chen Tianan, but instead of pursuing the matter, he took the opportunity to attack Su Yu. What a disgrace! Jiang Zhishir was in pain, his mouth full of blood. His heart was filled with hatred and fear. But he did not refute in court. Family scandals should not be aired in public. Making a scene in public would be a great loss to his reputation. Therefore, he clenched his teeth, secretly glared at Su Yu, and dragged his seriously injured body away. Many of the students were baffled. Su Yu had cruelly injured Chen Tianan, and Jiang Zhishir had captured Su Yu out of his duty as a referee. How could he be seriously injured? Housemaster Yi was unwilling to explain. If Jiang Zhishir's dirty deeds were announced in public, it would be a stain on the institute's reputation. All right, the winner of this Silver King battle is Su Yu. Housemaster Yi walked onto the stage and personally placed the silver crown on Su Yu's head. You did well. Keep up the good work, and strive to become a gold student in a month. Housemaster Yi smiled, patted Su Yu's shoulder, and turned to leave. Su Yu's heart was filled with respect. Thank you, Housemaster. Without Housemaster Yi to uphold justice, he would not have escaped serious injury. Su Yu had become famous in one battle. The Silver King had changed owners. Su Yu had become the new Silver King. At this moment, Su Yu's student number plate was shining with a silver light, faintly suffused with a faint golden color. It would soon become a golden student number plate. In a secret place, the celestial being gazed at Su Yu's departing gaze and smiled. Beside her, there was a person. He was handsome, tall, and had a beautiful face that made women jealous. But the corners of his eyes were raised. They were a pair of peach blossom eyes, giving people a strange feeling. The handsome youth laughed involuntarily. Senior Xia, I did not expect you to be interested in the silver level battle. In other words, the silver assessment was boring. If anyone had been present, they would have been horrified. This unbelievably beautiful youth was the Gold King, the strongest of the gold students, Fang Qingzhou. His qualifications were amazing, and his strength had reached level 4 upper tier of the martial path. Among the gold students, he was invincible. No one had ever been able to withstand more than 3 moves from him. Defeating the enemy in 3 moves, the undefeated legend, Fang Qingzhou. He was the idol of many female students. But the rumors about Fang Qingzhou were not good. It was said that many girls from good families had been tricked into bed by him, losing their chastity. There was even a girl who committed suicide by jumping into a lake out of humiliation. Strangely, the institute had only settled the girl's family, but had not punished Fang Qingzhou. The celestial being, somewhat disgusted with this person, replied indifferently, I just want to see if there are any rising stars. Fang Qingzhou did not hide his contempt and sneered. No matter how strong the silver qualifications are, they are still trash that has been eliminated. Although these words were harsh, they were true. Silver students were unqualified. It was not an exaggeration to say they were trash. The celestial being frowned. That may not be the case. I am very optimistic about the new generation of Silver King. He has improved very quickly. With that, the celestial being turned and left. Him? That's Su Yu? Fang Qingzhou looked at Su Yu's back, frowned, and shook his head. Just like that, a life at the bottom for life. Chapter 19. Senior Xia, there is still half a month before the full moon night. Are we going to the ancient ruins? Fang Qingzhou was half a step behind, greedily sniffing the fragrance of the beauty. The ancient ruins were in the Twilight Mountains. Once, Fang Qingzhou had pestered the celestial being to go hunting with him. They had accidentally discovered it in a secret place, and it had become a secret shared by the two. The celestial being nodded. Yes, after the gold assessment, the top 10 demons of the Institute will be sent to the imperial capital as representatives. Before leaving, I want to study the murals in the ruins again. Okay, I'll go too, Fang Qingzhou said, his eyes shining with a demonic light. The celestial being raised her eyebrows slightly and nodded lightly. Okay. First, the ruins were discovered by the two of them together. It was understandable that the other party wanted to go together. Second, Fang Qingzhou's background was so terrifying that she could not refuse. Watching the celestial being's graceful figure disappear into the distance, Fang Qingzhou became lustful. He licked his lips in excitement. Little girl, my patience is limited. In half a month, the rice will be cooked, and even your grandfather, the housemaster, will not dare to do anything to me. At night, when Suyu dragged his tired body back to his dormitory, he found several institute administrators in his dormitory, sorting out his things. Wu Song stood to one side, not daring to breathe. This is? Suyu asked. The person in the lead was a middle-aged woman at the fourth heaven. Her face was cold. When she looked back at Suyu, she stopped what she was doing and squeezed out a warm smile. You are the Silver King. You deserve a better environment. It turned out that the Silver Kings of each generation had a single courtyard, next to the 100 gold students' dormitories. The environment was clean, elegant, and quiet, suitable for cultivation. Moreover, there were servants to take care of their daily needs. Among the Silver students, only the Silver King could enjoy it. Wu Song gasped, a complicated look in his eyes. Once upon a time, Suyu was just a punching bag, a good-for-nothing. But now he had soared to the sky, becoming the Silver King above all others. If he had known this day would come, he would have befriended him. Unfortunately, amid his envy and jealousy, and in the corridor and dormitory, Suyu left and arrived at his new home. Suyu was extremely satisfied with the clean courtyard, which had 3 female servants who were there to serve him. It was an elegant place that was far away from human habitation. In the future, there was no need for him to cultivate in the mountains. The courtyard was enough. The difference in treatment between those with power and those without power is like the difference between heaven and earth, Suyu thought to himself. After dismissing the servants, Suyu immediately recuperated and cultivated. The next morning, in the courtyard, whoosh, his fists and legs crisscrossed. 4 consecutive hits, 8 consecutive hits, 16 consecutive hits, 17 consecutive hits, 18 consecutive hits, 19 consecutive hits. After recovering, Suyu was pleasantly surprised to discover that after a whole day of fighting the previous day, his universal stroke had been greatly refined. The heaven underworld, that had stagnated, had actually been honed to perfection. Now, he could attack continuously without stopping. Infinite combo. Apart from the fact that he had used Heaven Underworld many times in battles with others, the most important reason was that Heaven Underworld had been tempered by Jiang Zhisher's powerful qi and blood. Haha! If that old fogey knew that I had broken through to the top class of Heaven Underworld thanks to him, I wonder what expression he would have. At the same time, Suyu unexpectedly discovered that in his mind, the 10-inch purple dragon carved in the divine 9-dragon cauldron had been baptized by the spirit liquid in the cauldron. The color of the crystal was very similar to the color of the crystal in Suyu's eyes. With a thought, Suyu revolved his pupils. A moment later, his face was filled with joy. His eyesight had improved once again. Before, he could see tiny objects 200 feet away. Now, he could see the leg of a mosquito 500 feet away. In other words, the situation within a mile could be clearly seen as long as there was nothing in the way. Such eyesight could be called nature-defying. What made him even more happy was that after he revolved his pupils, time was accelerated by 2 times. In a quiet state, in the past, 1 hour in the outside world was 10 hours for him. Now, 1 hour in the outside world was 20 hours for him. In a state of boiling blood, he was in a state of combat. In the past, his own time was accelerated by 30%. Now, his own time was accelerated by 40%. If I meet Chen Tianan again, I am confident that I can suppress him with just universal stroke. Suyu clenched his fist. Thump, thump, brother Suyu, I have come to find you. Xian Lifei was outside the courtyard, her sweet face enviously looking at the Silver King's courtyard. Suyu was a little surprised. Why was Xian Lifei looking for him? What is it? Suyu stood at the door of the courtyard, with no intention of inviting her in. Xian Lifei pouted, stingy. I am looking for you because I want to join forces to hunt demonic beasts in the Twilight Mountains. Hunt demonic beasts? Suyu was a little tempted. It was difficult to buy enough training materials with the silver given by the student. Come in. Suyu invited her in. Xian Lifei quietly said, Let's talk in your room. I have top-secret information. A ray of light flashed in Suyu's eyes. A moment later, in Suyu's room. The room was simple but very clean. The large white bed was spotless, the windows were bright and clean, simple and quiet. Xian Lifei took a deep breath as if enjoying it. She said enviously, I envy you. She sat on the bed as she spoke. Tell me, what top-secret information? Xian Lifei lay back on the large bed. Lying flat on her back, her exquisite curves were outlined. Especially the pair of proud snowy peaks on her chest, standing proudly. Xian Lifei said, I heard that in the Twilight Mountains, someone found 2 demonic beasts guarding a cave. There are very precious spiritual items inside, and even the gold students are tempted. 2 level 1 demonic beasts guarding it together? Suyu was a little tempted. Demonic beasts were slightly intelligent, and usually guarded treasures. Besides me, who else did you invite? Suyu asked. Just the 2 of them were not enough to deal with a level 1 demonic beast. Clang, what are you doing? This is the courtyard of the Silver King. Below, there was a commotion, and the maid screamed. Get out of the way. We received a report that Suyu defiled female students. Suyu's expression changed, and he suddenly turned back. Xian Lifei's expression changed, and she quickly took off her clothes, revealing only a small undergarment. She also rubbed it, messing up her clothes. Then she took out chili and rubbed it in her eyes. A few drops of tears rolled down her cheeks, and she lay on the bed, looking like she had been violated. How could Suyu not understand? Framing and framing. Swish, Suyu took a big step forward, and his palm grabbed Xian Lifei's fragrant shoulder. Xian Lifei resisted with a cold expression. Thump, thump, the sound of hurried footsteps came from downstairs. Time was of the essence. Once they broke in, the scene before them would be unexplainable. Netherworld blue sky. At the critical moment, Suyu used all his strength. Xian Lifei sneered. I was prepared. With a flip of her palm, a silver arm guard appeared between her arms, so that she could block the opponent's consecutive attacks. 4 consecutive attacks. 8 consecutive attacks. 16 consecutive attacks. 32 consecutive attacks. 64 consecutive attacks. Xian Lifei's sneer froze, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Her sweet little face was filled with pain. What was going on? Didn't the opponent only have 16 attacks? Why did it seem like there was an unlimited number of attacks? One could imagine how serious it would be to suffer 64 consecutive attacks in a breath's time in the same area. Dripping water could penetrate a stone, let alone something as strong as fists and legs. Crack! The arm guard cracked. Xian Lifei let out a cry and was kicked into the bed. Not only was her blood boiling, but her head was also dizzy. At this moment, Su Yu attacked like lightning, grabbing the clothes she had taken off and quickly twisting them into a rope. Then, with extreme speed, he tied her up and hung her outside the window. Before he left, he grabbed a dirty rag and stuffed it into her mouth. The courtyard was located in a quiet area. If one did not stand under the window, it would be difficult to notice that there was a half-naked girl hanging there. Clang! At this moment, the door was kicked open, and a group of people entered. Leading the group was Jiang Zhisher, who had not fully recovered from his injuries. Search! Jiang Zhisher looked around coldly, his eyes filled with murderous intent. The people who followed him in did not wait for his orders, and searched everywhere. Under the bed, in the cupboard, in the box, they searched everywhere but found nothing. Everyone looked at each other, quietly waiting for Jiang Zhisher to speak. Su Yu coldly scolded, "What are you doing?" Jiang Zhisher stared at him, his tone cold. "We received a report that you defiled a girl from the same school. Where did you hide her?" "Ha ha!" Su Yu was so angry that he laughed. "Good! Good! Deacon Jiang, oh Deacon Jiang, if you want to punish me, just say it. I won't let this matter rest if you accuse me of defiling female students." Su Yu angrily said, "Search, search. If you can't find any evidence, I will immediately go to Housemaster Yi and ask for his judgment." The few people who followed him were terrified. They had come with 100% confidence in subduing Su Yu. In the end, they could not find Su Yu and were forced into a passive position. If Housemaster Yi was alerted and found out that they had purposely harmed a student, with Housemaster Ye's ruthlessness, no one could save them. Jiang Zhisher also felt that this was a tricky situation. This Xian Lifei was not reliable. She had forced him into a passive position. Since it is a misunderstanding, we will take our leave. Jiang Zhisher coldly turned to leave. "Wait!" Su Yu coldly shouted. "You barged into my courtyard, coming and going as you please? I must report this matter to Housemaster Yi and ask him to uphold justice." Jiang Zhisher's eyes were cold. He turned and asked, "Then what do you want?" They were both smart people. How could Jiang Zhisher not sense Su Yu's intention to extort benefits from him? "It's not what I want, it's what you want," Su Yu angrily said. "You have ruined my honor, what should I do?" Jiang Zhisher was secretly hateful. Not only did he not get anything to use against Su Yu, he had also fallen into a passive position. Waving his hand to let them leave, Jiang Zhisher threw out a token, an exemption token, something that cannot be bought even with money. "Are you satisfied?" "An exemption token?" Su Yu raised his eyebrows. This was an item passed down from the depository of scriptures, and there were only 10 of it. According to the rules of the depository, one could only enter once every 6 months. However, with the restriction order, he could ignore this rule and enter again within half a year's time. Furthermore, it was not only the first level. Only gold students had the right to enter the second level, and only demon students had the right to enter the third level. This token was a reward for the higher-ups of the faction. Unless the students were directly related, they would not have the chance to touch it. Its value was unimaginable. Jiang Zhisher had no other choice. If Housemaster Yi found out that he had slandered Su Yu, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Therefore, he used an irresistible temptation to completely seal Su Yu's mouth. "Since it is a misunderstanding, I will not pursue it. I only hope that next time, Jiang Zhisher will think twice before acting," Su Yu said meaningfully, knowing when to stop. Jiang Zhisher's face was cold as he flicked his sleeves and left. After the crowd had completely left, Su Yu went to the window, pulled up the half-naked Xian Lifei, and threw her onto the bed. Chapter 20. "I'm sorry, I was forced." Xian Lifei blinked her misty eyes like an aggrieved lamb. How could Su Yu believe a one-sided story? After searching through her clothes for a while, A wooden box caught his attention. Top-grade spirit elixir? Suyu was shocked after opening it, his eyes gradually turning cold. With Xian Lifiai's background, how could she have obtained such a precious elixir? Before I get completely angry, confess. Suyu slowly walked towards Xian Lifei. Xian Lifei blinked in fear, her two perky breasts violently rising and falling in the white dew. It was Qin Feng who made me do it, I'm sorry. It really was him. Was he still in cahoots with Jiang Zhisher? Qin Feng, ranked second among the gold students, was a level 4 lower tier with frightening strength. It was him who had stolen Su Yu's childhood sweetheart. It was him who had viciously framed Su Yu again and again. Qin Feng. If I don't take revenge, I, Su Yu, am not human. Su Yu clenched his fists. Xian Lifei was like a little lamb, moving deeper into the bed, fearfully saying, "Can you let me go? I won't dare to do it again." Su Yu then looked at her. She wore a small white doudou and a pair of leopard skin shorts. Her slender and attractive body, smooth and delicate skin, two perfectly round and tight white thighs, as well as a proud perky chest. Su Yu, who had not touched a woman for a long time, could not help but be tempted. On Earth, as a manager, he often accompanied clients to places of pleasure, willing or unwilling, often tainted with women. After returning to the Shernue continent, he held his breath and trained hard, his days a little hard. With an evil smile, Su Yu sat on the bed and pulled her from the depths of the bed onto his lap. "Ah, you, what are you doing?" Feeling the hot thighs under her buttocks, Xian Lifei trembled in fear, her eyes filled with fear. How could she still be charming? Su Yu was unmoved. His big hand reached under the doudou, climbing along the smooth snowy peaks, and grasped her breasts. She was only 15 or 16 years old. What would happen when she grew up? Gently kneading a few times, he found that the elasticity was extraordinary and the peak of the cherry was just right. It was scalding hot, soft, and smooth to the touch, making him feel indescribably comfortable. "Boo-hoo. I'm sorry, please let me go. I'm still young, I can't lose my virginity." Xian Lifei was really frightened. She was ashamed and scared, crying on the spot. Su Yu let out a mocking laugh. "Don't let there be a next time, or else." Su Yu leisurely withdrew his hand without any reluctance. Although he was interested in women, he felt that it was beneath his dignity to rape someone who lacked skill. He was only interested in women who were willing. Of course, when he pulled his hand back, he played a prank and flicked the firm and tender cherry. Xian Lifei's nostrils flared and her breathing quickened. Her sweet little face was so red that water was about to be squeezed out. Being released, Xian Lifei was relieved. She hurriedly put on her clothes and slipped out in fear. "By the way, is it true that the demonic beasts in the Twilight Mountains are guarding the treasure?" Su Yu teased. Being stopped, Xian Lifei's body stiffened. She turned around with tears in her eyes and nodded her head like a chick pecking at grains. "Yes, it's true. This is the map." Quickly putting down a map, Xian Lifei ran away in a hurry. Only after walking far away did Xian Lifei wipe her teary eyes, feeling wronged and humiliated. "Boo-hoo. I don't want to live any more. The spirit elixir has been taken away, and even my body has been touched." She had never been taken advantage of by any of the young masters, only Su Yu had been hugged and touched by him. Even now, her breasts were still swollen. The spirit elixir was also a pity. She had intended to consume it after completing her task. In case she failed, she would need to return the elixir to Qin Feng. But now, she had failed to complete her task and lost the elixir. She did not know how to explain this to Qin Feng. In the courtyard, Su Yu sat cross-legged, smiling as he gazed at the top-grade spirit elixir. The powerful energy it contained was far beyond that of a middle-grade spirit elixir. Adjusting his body to its optimal state, Su Yu immediately swallowed the elixir. The powerful energy traveled through his limbs and bones. Everywhere it passed, He felt as if his body was on fire. Soon, his whole body was drenched in sweat. Beads of sweat trickled down from his pores. He looked like he had just come out of a bath. 2 hours later, Suyu opened his eyes abruptly, and a beam of light shot out from them. Clenching his fists, a powerful force of blood flowed through his body, making him feel full of strength. He even felt like he could kill a cow with one punch. Is this the feeling of a level 3? It's extraordinarily powerful, Suyu exclaimed excitedly. He discovered that he could defeat Chen Tianan and other level 3 masters thanks to the power of the low-level Yellow Springs technique. The difference of one realm was more than double the difference in strength, but Suyu was not complacent. In the future, I will meet even more powerful masters. Relying on Yellow Springs alone is far from enough. Suyu flipped his palm and took out the restriction order, a smile appearing on his face. Jiang Zhisher, you really gave me something good. Half a day later, after a month, Suyu once again arrived at the depository of scriptures. The old guard was still sitting at the top of the stairs, his expression cold. Seeing Suyu arrive, he calmly said, "You can only enter once every 6 months." The old man was displeased and coldly said, "I reminded you that Cloud Shadow is extremely difficult to cultivate and that only 1 in 10,000 can succeed. You should not bite off more than you can chew. Now you regret it and want to exchange for a cultivation technique? Too late." Suyu was embarrassed and cupped his hands. "I know I have a restriction order." Handing over the token, the old man's wrinkled face slightly changed. He stared at Suyu for a moment. With his silver status, how could he receive a restriction order? But he did not pursue the matter further. "Let me ask you, how is your cultivation of Cloud Shadow going?" He had only asked Suyu a difficult question, hoping that Suyu would back off. In his heart, he had already labeled Suyu as biting off more than he can chew. Suyu's face was slightly red. "Cloud Shadow is difficult to comprehend. I've only cultivated it to stage 1 top class. Normally, with Suyu's talent, he would need half a year to cross the threshold. By manipulating time and cheating, he had only managed to cultivate it to stage 1 top class. It had to be said that his talent was average." The old man's indifferent expression suddenly changed. His pupils dilated. "In just half a month, you've cultivated it to stage 1 top class?" This news had truly shocked him. Someone with great talent would not be able to cross the threshold without at least a month of cultivation. But Suyu had cultivated it to such a level in half a month? How could he have known that Suyu had used time to double his comprehension time? The time he took to comprehend it was 10 times that of others. Now that he could accelerate it to 20 times, his cultivation speed would increase again. As if realizing that he had lost his composure, the old man hid his shocked expression and moved to the side of the staircase. With his usual indifference, he said, "You have the right to enter the 2nd and 3rd levels. But you can only take 1 cultivation technique. This rule will not change." "Yes." Suyu flashed forward. He had seen all the cultivation techniques on the 1st level of the depository of scriptures. There was nothing else that caught his eye. Only the 2nd and 3rd levels had the cultivation techniques he needed. Upon entering the 2nd level, there was a stone tablet introducing the technique. On the 2nd level, there are 49 offensive techniques and 490 auxiliary techniques. Suyu clicked his tongue. In the 1st level, there were 101 offensive cultivation techniques and 491 auxiliary cultivation techniques. The 2nd level had more than half. Of course, the 2nd level was filled with medium-level cultivation technique. The 1st level could not compare to them. With fewer cultivation techniques, Suyu was much more serious about choosing. After a long time, medium-level cultivation technique, Tempest. Suyu's eyes lit up. After successfully cultivating this technique, one's leg technique will bring along a cold wind. When cultivated to the extreme, the cold wind will freeze water vapor and turn into icicles. With a kick, The cold wind will howl and snow will fall. This is a top medium-level cultivation technique. Its power is close to that of a top-level cultivation technique. The basic requirement for this technique is a strong leg technique foundation. The core requirement is a strong level of comprehension. Those who choose, please be absolutely cautious. If you do not have a level of comprehension that is 1 in a million, do not waste your time. Suyu flipped to the first page and was instantly dazzled. The words were not only choppy but also difficult to pronounce. Cloud Shadow was already difficult to comprehend, but compared to this book, it was much easier. Suyu read for 10 minutes but did not understand a single word. But Suyu was not discouraged. Instead, he was even more tempted. The more difficult a technique was to comprehend, the more powerful it was. The fewer people who cultivated it, the less likely it would be for others to decipher it. Activating time control would speed up the surrounding time by 20 times. In the eyes of an outsider, Suyu had only read for half an hour. In reality, he had spent 10 hours memorizing it. Then Suyu continued to choose. Ghost Shadow Technique, Top Medium Level Cultivation Technique. Suyu discovered the technique Chen Tianan was cultivating. He gave up on cultivating it after just one glance. Although this technique was powerful, it required the foundation of poison technique. It was not suitable for him. Demonic eyes? What is this? When he browsed through the last offensive cultivation technique, a slightly sinister book with a black cover attracted his attention. Demonic eyes, a medium-level cultivation technique. After cultivating, one can use soul attack. At the lower tier, one can cause dizziness. At the upper tier, one can cause sudden death. Extremely dangerous. The only basic requirement is to be gifted with soul energy. This technique is extremely powerful, but because it involves the soul, it is extremely dangerous to cultivate. One can easily suffer from soul backlash. Those with innate soul energy must choose carefully. Without innate soul energy, cultivating this technique will only result in death. Suyu clicked his tongue. The requirements for demonic eyes were really special. Was my soul energy gifted? Flipping to the title page, there was a line of small words. To determine if one has innate soul energy, look at the cross at the beginning of the first page of this technique. The words contain a weak soul attack. If you can clearly read the first word, it means you have low soul energy. If you can clearly read the second word, your talent is passable. The third word, your talent is not bad. The fourth word, your talent is relatively strong. Suyu flipped to the title page. Immediately, there were 10 strange words at the beginning of the technique. They were blurry, as if they were alive. It was difficult to see with the naked eye. But strangely, Suyu could clearly see the first 7 words. According to what was written, to be able to see the first 7 words clearly meant that one's soul energy was terrifying. Blinking, Suyu did not dare believe it. This body was mediocre in every aspect. His physique was mediocre, and his perception was mediocre. He had relied on the divine 9-dragon cauldron to get to where he was today. Suyu could not get used to the sudden revelation that his soul energy was terrifying. After being stunned for a moment, Suyu understood. It should be the result of the fusion of 2 Suyu's souls. My soul is twice as strong as that of my peers. Delighted, Suyu immediately memorized demonic eyes. Then, Suyu looked through the 490 auxiliary cultivation techniques one by one, but none of them caught his eye. I wonder what the third level is like. Could there be superior cultivation techniques? Suyu was filled with anticipation as he leaped up to the 3rd floor. Chapter 21. The 3rd floor was not big, only 100 square feet. The cultivation techniques were pitifully few. This building has 7 offensive cultivation techniques and 49 auxiliary cultivation techniques. There were only a few dozen books, but they were all top-level cultivation techniques. Only the demon geniuses were qualified to cultivate them. The basic requirement to randomly open a book was extremely strong perception. One had to know that only a handful of medium-level cultivation techniques, such as Tempest, had extremely strong perception as their core requirement. But here, any top-level cultivation technique had extremely strong perception as its basic requirement. No wonder it was only open to the top 10 demon geniuses. Other than them, even if the other students came, they would not be able to comprehend it. Suyu could not help but be disappointed as he flipped through 6 books. A remnant of a cultivation technique, Purple Star Thunderbolt, classified as a fist technique. After cultivating, one's fists and palms would condense the power of thunder and lightning, its power ferocious and extremely destructive. This is a remnant of a book. The level of the cultivation technique is unknown. There is only one level. No one has successfully cultivated it. Basic requirement, extremely strong perception. Core requirement, unknown. Suyu silently cursed. Even the cultivation requirements were unknown. It was no wonder no one had successfully cultivated it. But among the 3 levels of cultivation techniques, the only one suitable for him was this one. After thinking for a moment, Suyu used the time control technique to memorize it in 20 hours. Suyu looked through the remaining 49 auxiliary cultivation techniques one by one. Unfortunately, like the second level, there were no movement technique. It seemed that Cloud Shadow was the strongest movement technique in the training institute. When can silver students enter the 3rd level? A surprised voice came from the staircase. Suyu, who was about to leave, turned his head to look. There were 2 people. One of them was a youth in a green robe. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes, looking at Suyu in shock. Beside him was a young man enveloped in an icy aura. His hair was strangely silver, making him look rather peculiar. The silver-haired youth's eyes were cold, as if they contained the 9 frozen springs. He glanced at Suyu, then turned and walked down the stairs. Shaoli, why are you leaving? The youth with thick eyebrows and big eyes followed, puzzled. The silver-haired youth's voice was cold as ice. Breathing the same air as silver students, dirty. Suyu laughed in anger. Did he think breathing the same air as him was dirty? Who forced you to breathe? You don't have to breathe. Suyu shrugged. The silver-haired youth didn't even turn around as he spat out indifferently. Scram? You don't deserve to talk to me. Suyu laughed and shook his head. He was too lazy to deal with such a person. He pondered over the 3 cultivation techniques he had obtained in his mind, his heart burning with eagerness. Executing the Cloud Shadow duckweed track, Xiao Qin was like the shadow of a white cloud descending from the sky, graceful and agile, free and at ease. At the same time, he was like duckweed drifting gracefully across the waves of the river. In the blink of an eye, he passed 2 students and rushed into the 1st floor. He was waiting for the old man to give him some instructions on how to select the technique. Hail Tempest? It was another cultivation technique that was so difficult to cultivate. The old man was shocked, but this time, he didn't say anything. The fact that the other party was able to comprehend Cloud Shadow showed that his comprehension ability was extraordinary. The young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes stared at Suyu's back, slightly surprised. It's actually Cloud Shadow. Shaoli, it seems that you haven't succeeded in cultivating it either, right? The silver-haired youth's cold face sank slightly. It's just that I have no time to cultivate. He's just a silver rank. He's able to cultivate successfully, but he's just wasting a lot of time. Is that so? From the student number on his chest, it seems that he's about to be promoted to a gold student. The young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes thought for a moment. Suyu returned to the courtyard, packed up his fiery red bow and dry rations, and hurried into the forest. The curriculum of the training institute was relatively loose, and there were no mandatory rules. The students were very flexible and did not need to apply for leave. Half a day later, Suyu once again entered the Twilight Mountains. Passing by the place where he fought the fire dragon, Suyu couldn't help but chuckle. He wondered how the young princess, whom he had drugged, was doing, and if the duke still wanted him. Without stopping, Suyu hurried through the forest during the day, fully utilizing cloud shadow, leaping through the forest. At night, he meditated and cultivated in the cave, comprehending and cultivating hailstorm, demonic eyes, and purple star thunderbolt. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Suyu followed the address provided by Xian Leafy and headed towards the cave guarded by 2 level 1 demonic beasts. During the half a month, Suyu encountered all kinds of wild beasts along the way. Occasionally, Suyu would fight with them to hone his technique. Long periods of actual combat and long periods of cultivation had greatly benefited him. Universal Stroke had been cultivated to top class, and his fists and legs had achieved upper class. On the other hand, Cloud Shadow had been cultivated to the 2nd level of perfection. Now, his speed was comparable to that of a level 3 peak expert. His latest medium-level cultivation technique, Hailstorm, had a total of 3 stages, and he had cultivated it to stage 1 top class. Although it was extremely difficult to comprehend, under the control of time, he had spent a full 5 nights cultivating. Calculating by 20 times, that was 100 nights. Although his level of comprehension was low, it could not withstand such a terrifying long period of comprehension. Thus, in just a few days, he had made some progress. Now, he could casually kick up a gust of cold wind. If he could cultivate it to stage 2 top class, he could create a cold fog and freeze the object he struck. If he could cultivate it to stage 3 top class, ice and snow would form between his legs, and the momentum would be astonishing. But the one with the fastest progress was Demonic Eyes. This was beyond Suyu's expectations. Suyu's pitch-black eyes blinked. Occasionally, a strange black light passed through them. The only requirement for Demonic Eyes was that one had to be gifted with soul energy. And his talent seemed to be frighteningly good. According to the cultivation technique, it was easy to suffer a backlash when cultivating it. But up until now, there had been no danger at all. He had triumphantly cultivated it to stage 2 top class. Demonic Eyes was divided into 3 stages. At stage 1 top class, one could release the soul-petrifying thorn, and those struck by it would faint. At stage 2 top class, one could release the soul-petrifying light, and those struck by it would suffer soul damage. Chen Tianan had cultivated it to stage 2 top class. That day, he had almost turned Suyu into an idiot. At stage 3 top class, it was said that one could release the soul-petrifying sword. Those struck by it would have their souls shattered, and they would die without a trace. It was mysterious and unpredictable. Now, Suyu had only cultivated it to stage 2 top class, but the effects were shocking. Just yesterday, he had encountered a mountain tiger and used the soul-petrifying light, causing the mountain tiger to lose its consciousness and become a fool, motionless. The only thing that Suyu regretted was the cultivation technique of unknown grade, Purple Star Thunderbolt, had not made any progress at all. No matter how much time Suyu controlled, he could not comprehend even a tiny bit of it, which made him feel frustrated. It really is a cultivation technique that no one can successfully cultivate. Could it be that it lacks the core cultivation requirements? Suyu was still puzzled. What were the core cultivation requirements of Purple Star Thunderbolt? With this thought in mind, Suyu continued on his way. Based on the distance, he should be arriving soon. Roar! At this moment, a roar that shook the forest suddenly attacked. The forest swayed, hundreds of birds flew away in fright, and wild beasts fled in all directions. Level 1 Demonic Beast. No, it's stronger than a normal Level 1 Demonic Beast. Suyu's expression was grave. A mature Level 1 Demonic Beast was equivalent to a Level 3 upper-tier human, such as the Fire Dragon Snake. But there were also a few Level 1 Demonic Beasts that were born with abilities comparable to a Level 3 peak human. Clang, the sound of fighting and the low roars of humans could be heard. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. With a tap of his toes, his figure swept forward. Hidden behind a giant rock, Suyu stood a mile away, peeping. With his eyesight, he could clearly discern the situation a mile away. He saw a giant tiger with sharp spikes on its back fighting 3 humans. The 3 humans were all teenagers, but their strength was frighteningly strong. The weakest was a level 3 lower tier, and the strongest was a level 3 peak. Li Mingho. Suyu's eyes shrank. He immediately discovered that the level 3 lower tier was the gold student, Li Mingho. His strength was still fresh in Suyu's memory. He had been challenged by Su Sen because he had taken away Su Sen's girlfriend and played her under his crotch. As strong as Su Sen was, the 3rd silver student and also a level 3 lower tier, he could not withstand one move from Li Mingho. Although the remaining 2 were unfamiliar, there was no doubt that they were also gold students. The 3 of them were working together to besiege the giant barbed tiger. The level 3 peak gold student was the main force, and the other 2 assisted. Flowing Wave Sword. The level 3 peak student's eyes flashed. He saw the opportunity and held a long green bamboo sword in his hand. The long sword drew a beautiful arc in the air, cold and beautiful, like a gorgeous sword of death. Poof, roar, the giant barbed tiger was carelessly stabbed in the neck, and the long green bamboo sword pierced its heart. However, the demonic beast's vitality was tenacious, and it fought back at death's door. The giant tiger claw slapped horizontally, and the long green bamboo sword in its neck flew away. The level 3 peak student's face was slightly cold, and he scolded, "Retreat immediately. Find a high place to hide. It has been fatally wounded, and its death is only a matter of time. We just need to wait patiently, and there is no need to take the risk of attacking it." As he spoke, he took the lead to climb an old tree. Li Mingho and the other student also hurriedly looked for a big tree. The demonic beast's dying counterattack was very terrifying. However, there was only one big tree that could withstand the giant barbed tiger's attack. The 3 climbed a big tree at the same time. When the giant barbed tiger caught up, the 3 climbed up. However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, something happened that made their faces change dramatically. The giant barbed tiger went crazy and hit the old tree with the barbs on its back. Crack! The sharp barbs pierced the old tree, and the big tree was shaky. Not good. Retreat. The old tree is going to fall. The level 3 peak student's face changed dramatically. The giant barbed tiger was determined to kill them. Unfortunately, it was too late. Walala! The big tree suddenly broke with a rustling sound. The 3 people were all pressed in the branches, and they hurriedly drilled out, trying to escape in all directions. However, the giant barbed tiger had already rushed up, and its blood-red eyes stared at the surroundings. At this time, if anyone popped out, it could bite off their head with its tiger mouth. Suddenly, the giant barbed tiger sensed someone's breath under its feet. It suddenly used its tiger claws to throw away the dense leaves, and found a gold student whose feet were pressed down by branches. It was a person at the level 3 peak of the martial path. At this moment, he was scared out of his wits. He looked at the tiger head close at hand, and it opened its bloody mouth to pounce on him, and let out a scream of horror at the moment of death. Whoosh! Chapter 22. The angle of the arrow was precise and tricky, entering the eye of the giant barbed tiger. The eye was one of its few weaknesses. Roar! The giant barbed tiger was in pain. With one eye blinded, it searched for the enemy with its remaining eye. Soon, a young man in white stood on a big tree in the distance, holding a big red bough in his hand. At the same time, a second arrow was shot. The giant barbed tiger roared, gave up on the person under its feet, and quickly dodged. It wanted to chase Suyu, but the arrows in Suyu's hands were tightly packed. With a roar, it reluctantly fled far away, dragging its seriously injured body away. Suyu put away the big red bough, leaped through the forest, and quickly chased after it. The 3 gold students, having survived a disaster, broke out in a cold sweat. Quickly chase! The three immediately gave chase. The giant tiger's vitality was tenacious. It ran for half a day before it died of exhaustion. Su Yu moved extremely quickly, cutting off the most valuable tiger skin. Hey, what is this? Su Yu suddenly found a black fruit in the mouth of the giant barbed tiger. It was very hard, stuck in the gap between its teeth, so it could not swallow it or crush it. Pulling it out with difficulty, Su Yu had no choice but to ask for help. Stop! A shout came from behind him. The three gold students rushed over, looking at the skinned tiger meat, and then at the black fruit in Su Yu's hand. Their expressions changed at the same time. It's you. The Silver King, Su Yu. Li Mingho had always felt familiar. Thinking carefully, wasn't this the new generation of Silver King Su Yu? The other two gold students looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. It would be fine if they were in the same school, but if they were strangers, they would be wary of each other. Su Yu glanced at him, then looked at the other two. It turns out to be the Silver King Su Yu. I am Lu Xian, and this is my brother, Lu Xing. Lu Xian was a gold student at level 3 peak. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. He had heard of Lu Xian's name. He was a gold student, ranked 3rd. How could he meet him here? As for Lu Xing, although not as famous as his brother, he was also ranked 10th among the gold students. His strength was not to be underestimated. What advice do you have? Su Yu slowly put the hard black fruit into his arms. This action made Lu Xian raise his eyebrows, but he looked at Lu Xing, who was safe and sound, and did not say anything in the end. If Su Yu had not intervened in time, his brother would have lost his life. Lu Xing's lips squirmed a few times, feeling rather unwilling. However, the other party had saved his life. It was difficult for him to ask for the black nut in front of everyone, lest he bear the name of being ungrateful. Li Mingho did not have so many scruples, and coldly smiled. We worked together to kill the demon beast, and you came out halfway to take advantage of it, and even took it for yourself. Are you not afraid of bursting your stomach? Then what do you want? Su Yu was calm and composed. In the past, he could only look up to Li Mingho, but now, things were different. Li Mingho said with a faint smile, "What do you think? Put down the tiger pelt, put down the nut. Since you helped, you can take the tiger meat away. And if I say no?" Su Yu loathed people like Li Mingho. Just because they were strong, they could do whatever they wanted. They took the wives and daughters of others and humiliated their husbands. They were the same kind of people as Qin Feng. Li Mingho was so angry that he laughed. Becoming the Silver King has made you overconfident, right? How dare you be so insolent in front of a gold student? I will only count to 3. Otherwise, don't blame me, a gold student, for bullying a silver student like you. Li Mingho held out 3 fingers. 1. Sneering, Li Mingho put down 1 finger. Swish, but at that moment Su Yu moved. His speed was extremely fast, leaping 5 meters away with 1 step. In 2 steps, he was close to Li Mingho. Li Mingho's smile froze, his expression changed, and he hurriedly blocked. Universal Underworld. His punches and kicks were endless, airtight. The attack time seemed long, but the speed of his punches and kicks was extremely fast. In just 2 breaths, he had hit 64 consecutive blows. Wow! Li Mingho could no longer resist, and a kick landed on his chest. His internal organs were shaken, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood and fly backward. Su Yu's figure floated down, looking indifferently at the horrified Li Mingho. I didn't want to bully you, but you think too highly of yourself. As he spoke, Su Yu put down the last finger and finished the 3rd count for him. 3. You lost. In 3 breaths, Su Yu had instantly defeated a gold-ranked 30th. The Lu Xian brothers were secretly surprised. The new generation of Silver King was much stronger than Chen Tiannan's generation. Chen Tiannan had defeated Li Mingho with 1 move. Su Yu had won with 1 move. Lu Xing's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. Su Yu, even if you saved me, you shouldn't be so arrogant, right? Not only did you steal our spoils of war, but you also injured our people. Since you are so confident, why don't I fight with you?" Lu Xing stepped forward and said coldly. His powerful energy suppressed Su Yu with an absolute advantage. Su Yu dusted off his robe and smiled lightly. "If I had known this would happen, I would have waited until you were eaten before making a move. In this world, one cannot be a good person. Bastard! Come back here!" Lu Xian was furious. With a cold shout, he dragged Lu Xing back. Lu Xing struggled and said indignantly, "He's going too far." "Shut up!" Lu Xian angrily rebuked. Only then did Lu Xing shut up, but his occasional glances at Su Yu were not friendly. Lu Xian cupped his fists and apologized. "My brother is not sensible. I hope Brother Su can forgive him." He had changed the way he addressed Su Yu. Su Yu's powerful strength had won his respect. Su Yu nodded. "Well, since there is nothing else, I will leave." "Wait, Brother Su, did you come for the place guarded by the demonic beasts?" Lu Xian's eyes flashed. It was too much of a coincidence to meet here. Su Yu had actually guessed that the destination of the three of them was most likely the spirit treasure in the cave that Xian Lifei had mentioned. After a moment's thought, Su Yu did not hide it. "Yes." Lu Xian smiled. "Why don't Brother Su travel with us? We can take care of each other. The guarded place is most likely dangerous." Secretly glancing at Li Mingho, Su Yu shook his head and refused. He did not want to travel with people like Li Mingho. Since there had been enmity, who knew if he would attack secretly? Li Mingho gritted his teeth, feeling humiliated. He angrily turned and left. "Sorry, Brother Lu, I will leave now." It was obvious that Lu Xian wanted Su Yu to stay, but it was inconvenient for him to drive Li Mingho away because of his pride. Li Mingho disdained to accept such charity. Lu Xian pretended to urge him to stay, but finally sighed helplessly. Only then did Su Yu join the team. The three divided the last of the tiger's valuables and rested by the lake. From their mouths, Su Yu learned that the hard black fruit was the key to their encirclement and killing of the tiger. This was the black soul fruit, which grew in harsh environments and contained extremely strong energy. It was infinitely beneficial to enhancing the strength of one's blood. That night, Su Yu pried open the black soul fruit and found a mass of white, sparkling flesh inside. Its fragrance filled the air. Just one whiff was enough to make one feel relaxed and happy, and the blood in one's body stirred. As he swallowed it, a cool feeling slowly spread. The comfortable energy seeped into his limbs and bones, transforming his body. His cultivation had reached a bottleneck during the half a month of training. After the impact of the powerful energy, he naturally broke through to level 3 upper tier. Lu Xian secretly nodded as he watched. "I heard that this Silver King was just a mediocre person at the first heaven a month ago, but now he is a master at the third heaven. His cultivation level alone is comparable to the top 20 gold rank." Lu Xing's eyes were red, and he disdainfully said, "So what if he doesn't have a suitable cultivation technique? I can beat him with one move." "Don't even think about it, you're no match for him." Lu Xian gently shook his head, his eyes flashing. "How is that possible? Although his universal stroke has been cultivated to the top class, my medium-level cultivation technique has also been cultivated to stage 3 upper tier. He wouldn't even be able to withstand a blow from me." Lu Xing sneered, secretly disdainful. Lu Xian thought for a moment, then said, "I don't know either. It's just intuition that he's hiding a stronger strength." After dawn, Su Yu opened his eyes. His eyes flashed, and a powerful force of blood surrounded his body. Su Yu was very satisfied with the strength of his breakthrough, but he knew it was far from enough. Qin Feng was the second strongest gold rank, and his cultivation level had reached level 4 lower tier. Su Yu was far inferior. After a short rest, the group continued on their journey. One day, in front of the valley. "It's in the valley. It's said that there are 2 flaming lions guarding the cave entrance." Lu Xian lowered his voice, vigilant and cautious. The flaming lions were level 1 demonic beasts. Their bodies emitted intense flames, and the temperature was extremely high, making them very difficult to deal with. According to the original plan, we were going to join forces to strangle the demonic beasts. Since Brother Su is joining us, it will be much easier. Lu Xian looked at the dark depths of the valley, his eyes unblinking. Su Yu's crystalline eyes flashed, and his expression changed slightly. Let's go. After saying this, he retreated first. Lu Xian's eyes showed hesitation, and he immediately got up and left. Lu Xing stared at the dark valley, unable to see anything. He hesitated for a moment before reluctantly following. Why are you so suspicious? If you have something to say it quickly. Lu Xing could barely keep up with the two. Su Yu did not say a word, but his heart was beating wildly. His crystalline eyes, which could see nothing in the darkness, saw a terrifying scene. In the depths of the dark valley, half a kilometer away, a youth in blue clothes killed a person with a flick of his finger. The person who was killed had strength comparable to the peak of the third heaven, which was on par with Lu Xian. However, he was killed with a flick of a finger. After the green-clothed youth easily killed the people, he seemed to have sensed something. He stood upright in the pool of blood and slowly turned his head. His sharp gaze shot toward Su Yu and the rest of the people. The corners of his mouth curled into a hideous smile. He had been discovered. This person's strength was unimaginably terrifying. He had only felt this kind of soul-trembling terror from Lord Yi, who was at the 6th level of the martial path. Lu Xing was furious at being ignored. With a whoosh, he flashed forward to block Su Yu's path. Su, I've tolerated you for a long time. After becoming the Silver King, you have no respect for others. Lu Xing rebuked angrily. Su Yu was secretly anxious. The green-robed youth had already discovered it, but Lu Xing was still pestering him. If you want to die, I won't accompany you. Get out of the way. Su Yu berated. He had no time to explain. Lu Xing laughed angrily. You can't even withstand a single blow, and you're still pretending to be mysterious? Let me use my fist to pry open your mouth. No. Lu Xian let out a low grunt, but it was too late to stop him. Ask the stars first style. Lu Xing's 2 fingers were like swords, stabbing forward. It was like a star descending from the heavens, as fast as an arc of light. Whoosh, the air exploded. The extremely powerful finger pressed down on the surrounding air. Get lost. Su Yu was secretly furious. He had no time to deal with him and quickly counterattacked. Tempest. Su Yu's right foot was like a green leaf in the sky, swaying in the wind and rain. One kick after another, rising and falling like a vast expanse of blue waves. Gusts of cold wind surrounded his legs and feet, whistling as if it was winter in the north of the Great Wall. Crack, whoa, Lu Xing's fingers cracked and his bones shattered. His body flew backward 5 meters, crashing into a large tree. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Xing's expression changed, and he stared at Su Yu in disbelief. He had been seriously injured in one move. In his imagination, Su Yu, a silver who could not be shown in public, could not withstand a single blow. But the reality was that he could not withstand a single move from Su Yu. Lu Xian's pupils shrank. He flew over to examine Lu Xing's injuries. His eyes flickered for a long time before he took a light breath and cupped his hand. Thank you, Brother Su, for showing mercy. What? Lu Xing gasped. Su Yu had shown mercy just now? Chapter 23. Su Yu coldly glanced at Lu Xing, then looked at the pitch-black entrance of the valley with a grave expression. What caused his pupils to shrink was that a faintly discernible green figure walked out from the darkness. Run! He's coming out! Su Yu's expression changed. He pushed Cloud's shadow to the extreme, disappearing into the forest like the shadow of a cloud or duckweed in a river. Level 6 of the martial path. He might not even have a chance to escape. Lu Xian looked back and his pupils shrank. The youth in green exuded a bloody smell that could be smelled from a mile away. Lu Xian could not see through his cultivation, but a sense of fear welled up within him. Run! Lu Xian was scared out of his wits. The threat of death was palpitating in his heart. Carrying Lu Xian fled. However, he was wise and did not stay with Su Yu. Instead, he split up and fled. The youth in green had a cruel evil smile on his face, his hands stained with sticky blood. His gloomy eyes wandered back and forth between Su Yu and Lu Xian. What a vigilant junior to be able to detect me hiding in the darkness. The youth in green stood where he was and did not pursue. Instead, his figure flashed and he left the valley. My goal has been achieved. Those 3 brats are lucky. I cannot stay here for long. I must retreat as soon as possible and report back to the first prince. Su Yu ran for a long time and was slightly relieved to see that the youth had not caught up. He hid in the dense forest. Once he was safe, Su Yu fell into deep thought. In fact, before entering the Twilight Mountains, he had some doubts. If someone had really found a cave guarded by a demonic beast, why not quietly search for the treasure instead of spreading the news to the whole world? Even a student like Xian Lifei, who was not very strong, could get a treasure map. Now it seemed that the news was deliberately spread to lure them into the valley and be killed by the youth in green. But what was that person's purpose? After waiting quietly for a long time, the youth in green did not chase after them. Su Yu muttered, "Since that person did not chase after us, it means that he has most likely left the valley." The existence of the youth in green had been exposed. If he wanted to continue hiding in the valley and kill those who were lured, he should have chased after Su Yu and the others to silence them. Since they weren't chasing after him, it meant that the other party had given up on hiding in the valley. Su Yu's eyes flickered with a shrewd light. After thinking for a moment, he turned around and flew back. Half a day later, outside the valley, the smell of blood lingered in the wind. Activating his crystalline pupils, the green-robed youth was indeed long gone, leaving behind only a cold corpse. Tiptoeing lightly, Su Yu cautiously walked over to the side of the corpse. The 4th-ranked gold student, Tsing Beer. Su Yu's pupils shrank and he gasped. Tsing Beer had a good relationship with Qin Feng. It was said that she was Qin Feng's ex-girlfriend. She had been a great help to Qin Feng in being able to pursue Jiang Xueqing. As a female student, Tsing Beer could freely enter and exit the female dormitory. Her powerful cultivation made it easy for others to admire her. It was said that she had a good relationship with the female students and knew a lot of inside information about them. In Su Yu's eyes, she, who was at level 3 peak, was a powerful existence that he could only look up to. However, at this moment, he had died a horrible death. His forehead had been pierced by a powerful force, and his face was filled with the fear of death. Squatting down to check, Su Yu realized that the green-clothed youth did not look like he was looking for money. This was because he did not take away the valuables on Tsing Beer. Su Yu did not stand on ceremony and took out many things from his robes. Top-grade spirit elixir? Su Yu was slightly surprised. This kind of thing, even the green-clothed youth did not take a liking to it. Thinking of the effects of the top-grade spirit elixir, Su Yu's heart warmed and he put it into his robes. Then, there were 3,000 taels of silver notes, enough to buy another top-grade spirit elixir. After doing this, Su Yu prepared to leave. Suddenly, a faintly discernible putrid smell assailed his nostrils. Su Yu activated his crystalline pupils and looked deeper into the valley. His pupils shrank as he discovered 2 huge lions, their bodies emitting a putrid stench, collapsed in front of a cave abode. Could it be that the treasure map was real? It was not fake? In order to ensure that no one would be lured, the youth really chose a place guarded by demonic beasts. With a thought, Su Yu flew over. Although the flaming lion was rotten, its teeth were worth a lot of money, so Su Yu kept them. There were a total of 4, each the fangs of the flaming lion. The fangs contained fierce flame energy. Once thrown and hit a target, it would cause a strong explosion. The flames could instantly cause harm to a person. Its power was similar to the silver ball of the young princess of Xianyu. It could be kept for his own use or taken back to sell. Just these 4 fangs were worth at least 2,000 taels of silver. After putting them away, Su Yu used his pupils to investigate the cave. It was dead silent, with no signs of life. The cave was not deep, only 100 meters deep. The stone walls had been baked by the flames of the flaming lion for a long time, emitting a faint warmth. With the mentality of giving it a try, Su Yu walked to the end of the 100 meters, but there was nothing. Su Yu could not help but be disappointed. It seemed that the cave abode was only a resting place for the flaming lion and did not guard anything. Come to think of it, if there really were treasures, they would have long been taken away by the terrifying green-clothed youth. Thump, thump. Suddenly, Su Yu felt the ground beneath his feet, gently shaking as if it was pulsing. Looking at the ground beneath his feet, there was a hair-thin dark red crack. If not for Su Yu's excellent eyesight, which allowed him to see darkness as if it were day, it would have been extremely difficult to discover its existence. Carefully digging up the ground, a wisp of dark red liquid emitting hot energy gushed out like spring water. In the blink of an eye, it filled the small pit. Jade fire marrow? Su Yu was shocked. He had heard of the name of this item more than once or twice. It was rumored that the jade fire marrow came from the depths of the earth and had an extremely strong effect on the transformation of the human body, far better than spirit elixirs. Moreover, the jade fire marrow had an additional effect, and that was to temper the body. There were strong and weak physique. At the same cultivation level, those with stronger physiques could last longer in battle, and the power of their moves would be stronger and more ferocious. Those with stronger physiques had the ability to crush those of the same cultivation level. On the market, a drop of jade fire marrow was worth at least 100 taels of silver. Moreover, it was priceless. It had not appeared in the world for hundreds of years, and the royal family did not have any collection. The jade fire marrow in front of him was more than a drop. There was a small pit. Su Yu was indescribably excited. This item was precious, and it also had the effect of enhancing the strength of blood for a strong level 6 of the martial path. If the youth in green knew that he had missed out on a great treasure, what would he think? What made Su Yu slightly speechless was that he did not have many jade bottles or pouches to store the spiritual liquid. Cultivate on the spot. I'll bring back the excess. Su Yu made up his mind and dug the pit a little deeper, just enough for him to soak in. Hiss! As soon as his body entered the jade fire marrow, Su Yu suddenly felt as if he had been thrown into a pot of oil. The burning pain stimulated his nerves, making him instinctively want to jump out. But his will forced him to do so. Clenching his teeth, beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and his body was red from the heat. Bear with it. The reason why my body is in so much pain is because this body is relatively weak, without the foundation of body tempering. As long as I clench my teeth and endure, my body will undergo earth-shaking changes. 1 minute passed. 10 minutes passed. Half an hour passed. An hour passed. Su Yu, with his own will, stubbornly persisted. Finally, 3 hours later, his body was transformed, gradually adapting, and the pain was no longer so severe. 10 hours later, he had been soaking for half a day, and there was no longer the slightest discomfort. The jade fire marrow in the pit was only left with a fist-sized lump of jade fire marrow. Su Yu's eyes slowly opened, and a powerful force of blood surged through his body. Phew! What a powerful jade fire marrow! Su Yu was pleasantly surprised to find that his cultivation base had reached level 3 peak, only one step away from breaking through to level 4. The jade fire marrow could only be consumed internally to improve one's cultivation base. Now, just by soaking in it, his cultivation base had been forcibly raised to level 3 peak. The effect was not just an ordinary kind of powerful. The remaining small lump of jade fire marrow could be taken back and swallowed. With its powerful energy, Su Yu's cultivation base would definitely soar. At this moment, Su Yu's body still looked thin, but with a casual clench of his fist, there was a crisp crackling sound coming from his bones, like frying beans. It was the same universal stroke. Now that he was using it, the power of his punches and kicks was far more than twice what it used to be. It was very terrifying. Su Yu could not estimate his own specific strength. Before, he could easily defeat Lu Xing, who was at level 3 upper tier. Now, defeating his brother Lu Xian should not be a problem. Qin Feng, the gap between us has shrunk by 1 step. I hope you will not be too surprised when the time comes. Su Yu clenched his fists, his eyes full of confidence. Staring at the last remaining precious lump of jade fire marrow, Su Yu hurriedly went out and caught a python. He peeled off the skin of the python, cleaned it, and used it as a container to store the last lump of jade fire marrow. Putting away the last drop of jade fire marrow, Su Yu calculated the time and said to himself, "I've been out for half a month. It will take at least 10 days to travel back. It's time to return to the institute. The gold assessment is about to begin." Just as Qin Feng put away the last drop of jade fire marrow, he suddenly found that in the crack in the ground where the jade fire marrow gushed out, a colorful brilliance flashed. Su Yu continued to dig along the crack. After digging for half a meter, clang, a natural underground passage suddenly appeared as the ground collapsed. In the passage, the breath of the jade fire marrow lingered, extending deep into the ground. Su Yu stepped into it with a strange feeling. Suddenly, a slight pain struck him. It turned out to be the water vapor of the jade fire marrow in the tunnel, emitting scorching heat. Fortunately, Su Yu's body had been baptized and was no longer afraid of the burning of the jade fire marrow. Otherwise, he might not have had the opportunity to go down this tunnel. After walking for a full hour, Su Yu only felt that breathing was becoming more and more difficult, as if he had already entered the depths of thousands of meters underground. Buzz, the colorful brilliance once again appeared at the end of the passage. Su Yu's heart moved, and he immediately rushed over. The end was sealed by mud, and only a crack could be seen outside. The colorful brilliance came from outside. Chapter 24. Senior Sister, let's take a break. A man's voice suddenly rang out. Su Yu looked over and his expression changed slightly. A man with handsome facial features that could make women jealous was attentively handing over a bag of water with both hands. Before him was a woman that was as beautiful as a celestial being from a painting. Her snow-white eyes were like a lake in autumn, clear and tranquil, and she possessed a tranquil bearing. She seemed like an otherworldly celestial being. This person was the celestial being who had gifted Su Yu the fiery red bow. At this moment, the celestial being was facing a colorful wall. Her eyes were completely focused on the wall, as if she wanted to see something from it. After staring for a long time, the celestial being tiredly withdrew her gaze. "Thank you." She accepted the water bag with an indifferent expression. Her red lips parted slightly as she took a sip. The devilishly handsome young man was the Golden King, Fang Qingzhou. He made an appointment with the painting-like celestial being and once again came to the ruins to comprehend the remaining murals in the ruins. "Senior Sister, did you find anything?" Fang Qingzhou asked. The celestial beauty put down the water bag and rubbed the space between her brows tiredly. She shook her head slightly. "No." As expected of a relic from 1,000 years ago. Even a remnant painting is difficult to comprehend. Fang Qingzhou said regretfully, "The murals are flashing too fast. It's hard for us to capture the specific content of the painting. Therefore, it's very difficult to comprehend. The night of the full moon is about to pass, and the murals will fall silent once more. We still haven't gained anything this time. Perhaps this is fate. This place doesn't belong to us." Fang Qingzhou hid a strange look in his eyes and said softly, "Yes, Senior Sister, rest for a while. We will leave later." The celestial being in the painting nodded and closed her eyes to meditate. Staring at the mural for a long time was extremely taxing on her mind. Suyu, who was observing this scene in secret, felt a little depressed for some unknown reason. In his heart, the celestial being was an otherworldly fairy. Looking at it now, she seemed to have a very close relationship with this young man, so much so that the two shared the same secret. Letting out a light breath, the heaviness in his heart dissipated. His determination towards martial arts was unshakable. Women were just decorations in his life. His heart was in martial arts. From the conversation between the two of them, it seemed that this five-colored mural contained something very mysterious. When Suyu tried to look at it, a rumbling sound rang out in his head, and he felt a faint piercing pain. Phew! Suyu rubbed his temples and took a few deep breaths. The scenes are jumping around too fast, and my head feels uncomfortable. However, Suyu did not give up. An ordinary person might be helpless, but Suyu could control time and space. The crystalline eye spun, and the surrounding time and space slowed down by 10 times. The colorful image suddenly slowed down a lot. When Suyu fixed his eyes on it, he realized that it was actually 2 different scenes, which were constantly alternating and confusing. He could roughly see the image, but it was still very fast and not clear enough. When he activated his eye again, time and space around him slowed down by 20 times. All of a sudden, the 2 images slowed down to a snail's pace, allowing Suyu to see them clearly. In the first scene, an old man in green robes stood at the top of a cliff. He had the demeanor of an immortal, as if he was a deity. From his body, Suyu felt a strange aura that he had never felt before. Although the old man was in the painting, he seemed to be one with the scenery in the painting, becoming a part of nature and harmonizing with nature. Then, the old man raised his head with a look of grief and indignation. His finger drew an arc in the air. That arc was simple and smooth. Although it was a simple finger, it seemed to contain an infinite rhythm, as if it had become one with nature. Suyu's mind roared. That finger was infinitely mysterious, but it was so simple and natural. At that moment, Suyu felt that he had grasped something. He subconsciously extended his finger, gesturing at the old man, and drew it gracefully in the air. Creak! The air issued a slight tremor. It was as if Suyu's simple finger had an indescribable mystery, causing the surrounding air to tremble. Although it was only a 10,000th of the finger of the old man in the painting, it was more rhythmic than the finger of an ordinary person. Suyu's eyes gradually regained clarity, his mind settling on that mysterious finger for a long time. He felt as if he had touched a mysterious door. Whoosh! The scene changed, and the second scene appeared. In the sky above the old man's head, dark clouds rolled, forming a giant vortex. A horrifying giant palm suddenly slammed down from the dark clouds. This slap caused the mountains to collapse, the earth to crack, the tsunami to roar, and the whole world to shake. When the giant palm dissipated, the towering cliff no longer existed, and the sage-like old man's corpse was also gone. Only a palm print 1,000 feet wide was left on the ground. Puff! Suyu's face was flushed, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes flickered with astonishment. That palm was too horrifying. It was unimaginably horrifying. Suyu could not suppress the boiling blood in his body just by looking at it. If he had not been tempered by the jade fire marrow, his body would have exploded from the boiling blood. He could not look any more. Suyu immediately withdrew his crystalline pupils, the shock in his eyes difficult to dissipate. "Senior sister, what's wrong with you?" Fang Qingzhou suddenly spoke, but his voice was a bit strange. The celestial beauty slightly frowned, and subconsciously lifted her collar. She did not know why, but she suddenly felt her body begin to heat up. "Senior sister, are you feeling hot? How about letting me help you undress?" Fang Qingzhou let out an evil laugh as he slowly walked forward, the lust in his eyes no longer hidden. The celestial beauty's mind buzzed, and she suddenly looked at her water bag, her pretty face cold. You drugged my water? Fang Qingzhou slowly nodded, laughing lewdly. Hee, not bad, and it's the capital's most famous 1,000 lives love powder. Whether it's a chaste woman or a virtuous woman, after taking it, they will all become a **** whole. A trace of panic flashed in the celestial beauty's eyes, and she coldly scolded, Fang Qingzhou, how dare you do such a despicable thing? If you dare to cross the line, my father will certainly not let you off. Fang Qingzhou looked at the celestial beauty's snow-white skin, which gradually turned red, her snow-like eyes burning with lust. She was excited beyond words. Your father? Who does he think he is? I'm not afraid to tell you that my father has returned from the sanctuary, and he has already arrived at the Martial Arts Training Institute. Even if I did, what would your father dare to do to me? Would he dare to touch a single hair of mine? Fang Qingzhou laughed wildly. The celestial beauty's heart thumped, her face filled with horror. The sanctuary. These two words were enough to make the heroes of the world submit, enough to make anyone look up to them. The master of the sanctuary was the rumored Holy King. The people of the sanctuary were all related to the Holy King. To put it bluntly, not to mention people who came from the sanctuary, even a dog raised by the sanctuary had to be treated politely by the empire. Furthermore, Fang Qingzhou's father had an extraordinary status in the sanctuary. One word, one attitude, one order from him was enough to change the fate of the Martial Arts Training Institute in the Xianyu Prefecture. Her father was not even worth mentioning in front of his father. Feeling her lower body gradually swelling, her mind gradually losing control, the celestial beauty's eyes were filled with grief and indignation. Was she going to be tainted by someone else for her entire life? A trace of killing intent appeared in her eyes. Killing him would solve the crisis. Fang Qingzhou stood with his hands behind his back, grinning coldly. With your level 5 of the martial path, it is easy to kill me, but do you dare? My father already knew that I entered the forest with you. When I die, you return alive. Believe it or not, my father will kill your entire family in a fit of anger, leaving no one alive. The celestial beauty's delicate body trembled. With her father's terrifying status, it was indeed possible. The celestial beauty was filled with grief and indignation. She could not kill him, and she was poisoned. Was she really going to be tainted by this beast? Fang Qingzhou, seeing that the celestial beauty was gradually losing her strength, walked over with a lecherous smile. Xia Jingyu, as long as you are willing to cooperate with me and serve me well, there will be benefits for you. Not only can I guarantee your entire family prosperity, but I can also bring you into the sanctuary, as long as you obediently become my concubine. How about it? The celestial beauty's eyes flashed with determination. I would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. Swish, the celestial beauty took out a delicate long sword and swiped it across her neck. Fang Qingzhou's expression changed, and he threatened, try killing yourself. I will immediately let my father destroy your entire family. She could not even die? The celestial beauty was sad. Unless I am satisfied, your entire family will not have peace. Xia Jingyu, you better think clearly. Fang Qingzhou sneered. He was certain that Xia Jingyu would submit to him. She valued kinship and family very much. He had coveted Xia Jingyu for too long. From the moment he arrived at the Martial Arts Training Institute in Xianyu Prefecture and saw Xia Jingyu, he had coveted her wonderful body. Unfortunately, his father was in seclusion in the sanctuary, and he could not be too arrogant. After waiting for a full year, when his father came to the training institute, he finally could not hold back his animal nature. Xia Jingyu, he must have her. Thinking of riding Xia Jingyu, the lover of countless people's dreams, letting her ***ck her, conquer her, and ravage her, Fang Qingzhou became excited. The celestial beauty's eyes became even more determined, and her voice was mournful and resolute. "Even if I die, don't even think about tarnishing my innocence. My father, even if I offend the sanctuary by committing suicide, will be proud of me, proud of his daughter." Using death to prove her innocence was the celestial beauty's final choice. Damn it! Stop! Fang Qingzhou miscalculated and was greatly remorseful. The celestial beauty's upright temperament was unexpected. The celestial beauty smiled sadly. "Fang Qingzhou, the cycle of the heavens and retribution. If you're unhappy, you'll get the punishment you deserve." She was about to commit suicide. The celestial beauty was about to perish. Boom! Suddenly, a hole exploded in the wall. 2 iron arrows, fast as lightning, shot toward the two of them. One of the arrows shot toward Fang Qingzhou's eyes. The other arrow shot toward the sword in the celestial beauty's hand. Suddenly attacked, Fang Qingzhou hurriedly dodged. The celestial beauty, on the other hand, was sore and weak from the effects of the drug. Unable to resist, the sword in her hand fell. Whoosh! A masked white shadow suddenly shot out of the hole, grabbed the celestial beauty's astonishingly soft waist, took her away, and flew into the hole. Fang Qingzhou reacted, furious. "Put her down!" The terrifying power of blood, the powerful breath of a level 4 upper tier of the martial path, swept over. Su Yu's body froze, breathing with difficulty, and felt a deadly palm force behind him. Chapter 25. Bang! A fist and a palm collided, exploding with a loud noise that reverberated in the secret underground chamber. Su Yu was knocked back 5 or 6 meters by the palm. A metallic taste came from his throat, and his internal organs were shaken. Borrowing the force of the palm, he picked up the celestial beauty and leaped into the cave. Fang Qingzhou was aghast. Although he had knocked Su Yu back, he had also been knocked back 3 meters by Su Yu's punch. A numbing pain came from his palm. What a terrifying body! Su Yu was clearly only at level 3 peak, but with his body, he had reached level 4 lower tier. Fang Qingzhou was furious to see his opponent snatch his woman away. The speed of a level 4 upper tier was astonishing, and he rushed to the entrance of the cave in the blink of an eye. Whoosh, whoosh! At that moment, 3 fiery red teeth attacked at the same time. Boom, boom, boom! 3 rumbling explosions, accompanied by fierce flames, engulfed Fang Qingzhou. Ah! Fang Qingzhou roared in pain and rolled back 3 times before he managed to put out the flames around him. Not only were most of his clothes burned, but his hair and eyebrows were also completely burned. His facial muscles were badly mangled from the burns. A face so handsome that women would be jealous of him was like a ghost, miserable and embarrassed. "Ah! I'll kill you!" The severe pain aroused Fang Qingzhou's ferocity, and he roared as he rushed into the tunnel. Su Yu had already escaped into the depths of the tunnel. The celestial beauty's eyes were misty and her mind was fuzzy. Her fairy-like face was flushed, and her snowy eyes were filled with lust. Watching the flames burn, especially when she was held in the arms of a strong male, she was even more unable to extricate herself. She subconsciously wrapped her arms around Su Yu's neck and kissed him with her red lips, her body constantly twisting. Su Yu's eyes were calm as he struck the back of her neck with a knife-hand strike, knocking her out. The situation was critical. This was the only way. Behind him, Fang Qingzhou's roar could be vaguely heard. Su Yu's heart sank. The strength of a level 4 upper tier was extraordinary. Even if he used Cloud Shadow, it would be difficult to escape. However, this tunnel was special. There was water vapor from the jade fire marrow, which had a strong burning power on the skin. Fang Qingzhou might not be able to catch up with him. Suddenly, the unconscious celestial beauty let out a soft moan. Su Yu lowered his head to take a look at her. She was breathing rapidly, her brows slightly furrowed, and her skin was slightly flushed. "I was too careless." The water vapor of the jade fire marrow in the tunnel had already entered a relatively heavy area. The celestial being in the painting was a woman who had not gone through physical tempering, so naturally she could not bear it. After thinking for a moment, Suyu laid her flat on the ground and took out a snakeskin from his pocket. This was the snakeskin of the fire dragon snake. Not only was it extremely hard, but it was also made of fire-attributed materials. It was very effective against fire. This snakeskin was something that he had bargained with the black market merchant. After Suyu went back, he used a needle and thread to stitch it up. Although it was rather crude, it could still be considered a set of inner armor. He quickly put it on the celestial being. Her lower body was like a pair of pants and was very easy to put on. The upper body was in the shape of a jacket with sewn buttons. The style was completely modern clothing. However, when he was buttoning her blouse, his fingers inevitably caressed her round and hot breasts. It was as if he had touched a certain firm cherry. Under the influence of the drug, the top of her breasts had already stood proudly. Suyu could not help but be distracted. A peerless beauty was lying in front of him, allowing him to pick and choose. Her exquisite body and towering breasts made his heart heat up. Ah! A weak cry inadvertently came from the celestial being's red lip. Suyu touched her breast. Under the effects of the drug, the celestial being was very sensitive. Shaking his head and clearing his mind, Suyu quickly put on the snakeskin inner armor for her, picked her up, and quickly went up. Sure enough, with the snakeskin inner armor, the celestial being's pained expression gradually weakened and eventually calmed down. As for Feng Qingzhou, he was screaming again and again behind him, suffering from the water vapor of the jade fire marrow. His speed was slowly unable to keep up, and Suyu gradually pulled away from him. 2 hours later, Suyu emerged from the tunnel. He immediately found several large stones around and threw them into the tunnel to seal the entrance. Feng Qingzhou, who was in the narrow tunnel, could not use his hands and feet. It was not easy to break through so many stones. Thus, Suyu carried the celestial being and leaped through the forest. Half a day later, he found a hidden cave and laid her flat in it. He then moved several boulders and sealed the entrance. This was to prevent her from being discovered and attacked by wild beasts while she was unconscious. At this point, Suyu quickly left, returning to the institute. At the same time, in the cave in the valley, bang! The last stone was thrown out and Feng Qingzhou emerged with his face covered in dirt, his whole body hot. His handsome face was completely disfigured. Glancing around to make sure he had lost them, Feng Qingzhou roared like a wild beast. Bastard! Don't let me find out who it is. Otherwise I'll tear you to pieces. Another half a day passed, and night fell. The celestial being slowly woke up, touching the slightly sore back of her neck, her expression confused. Slowly, she gradually recalled what had happened, and her heart trembled. She immediately checked her body. Fortunately, there were no signs of violation, and her chastity was still intact. As snakeskin armor, the celestial being was lost in her memories. Before her consciousness blurred, she only remembered a masked white shadow suddenly jumping out of the stone wall, shooting 2 arrows, taking her away, and using something explosive to repel Feng Qingzhou. Then, she was knocked unconscious by him. It was he who saved me. The celestial being analyzed the cause and effect of the incident, her slender jade-like hands clutching the armor on her body, her heart indescribably grateful. If he had not appeared in time, she would have had to kill herself to preserve her innocence. She could not even rule out the possibility that Feng Qingzhou would have done something outrageous to her body after her death. Who is he? To be able to withstand a blow from Feng Qingzhou, he must be very strong. The celestial being's calm heart rippled like an autumn lake. She desperately wanted to find her savior and thank him in person. Although the other person might not care, she wanted to convey this gratitude in person. Suddenly, the celestial being thought of a person. Although the other person was masked, she was somewhat familiar with his eyes. They were as deep as the ancient starry sky, calm and determined. However, this person was far more powerful than the Silver King Su Yu she knew. It could not be him. Who the hell are you? The celestial being's beautiful eyes rippled. 10 miles away, in a secret place, Su Yu found a safe place to recover his strength. After a while, he let out a light breath and touched the big red bow on his back, feeling much more relaxed. Celestial being, I said that day that I would repay the bow in the future. Today I have saved you, and I have repaid the debt between us. Su Yu smiled, closed his eyes again, and continued to practice. 10 days later, at the edge of the Twilight Mountains, Su Yu's eyes had a hint of satisfaction. During the 10 days, he traveled during the day and cultivated at night. For Su Yu, cultivating for 1 night was equivalent to cultivating for 20 nights. Therefore, in 10 nights, he had actually cultivated for a full 200 nights. Cloud Shadow was a lightness skill that focused on comprehension. He had already cultivated it to the 3rd level of mastery. He was only a step away from cultivating it to the state of great completion. Now, his speed was comparable to that of a level 4 upper class, which was why he could return in 10 days. As for Tempest, a medium-level cultivation technique that was extremely difficult to comprehend, he had also successfully cultivated to stage 2 upper class. Now, his leg technique was bone-chilling, and anyone who was swept by it would feel cold. Demonic Eyes had not made much progress, still at stage 2 top class. The final Purple Star Thunderbolt had not made any progress, which made Su Yu smile bitterly. However, in the underground ruins, he had imitated the finger technique of the old man in the mural with greater proficiency. Although he was tens of thousands of miles away from the old man, there was a unique charm to it. Su Yu faintly felt that if he could understand the mystery behind it, his strength would be greatly improved. At dawn, Su Yu left the Twilight Mountains. He did not return to the Institute, but instead entered the market. In his hands, he had the skin of a giant barbed tiger, the tooth of a flaming lion, and 3,000 taels of silver notes, which he could buy some useful items. The big red bow was of good quality, and he could use it for the time being. As for the arrow, it was nothing. The last time he killed the fire dragon, it had only penetrated a few inches into its flesh. Ordinary iron arrows could kill wild beasts, but killing demonic beasts was difficult. But before that, Su Yu had to get rid of the demonic beast materials he had. All of these materials came from a good source and could be sold on the market without worry. Su Yu came to the largest demonic beast material store in the Xianyu prefecture. The place was large, the space was open, and the crowd was crowded. "Shopkeeper, do you accept demonic beast materials?" Su Yu went straight to the counter. The shopkeeper lazily leaned against the counter, half squinting, looking Su Yu up and down. He lazily waved his hand. "This store does not accept materials, please find another place." It was common for young martial artists like Su Yu to pick up demonic beast fur and other items from the mountains and exchange them for treasures. The shopkeeper did not want to waste time. Su Yu was stunned. He nodded and turned around, shrugging his shoulders and muttering, "The skin of a giant barbed tiger, the tooth of a flaming lion, are they not valuable? Let's go to the black market, they should accept them." Swish, the shopkeeper's old eyes glowed, suddenly opening his eyes. He quickly walked out from the counter and asked in surprise, "You have such precious demonic beast goods?" The giant barbed tiger was one of the top-level demonic beasts and was extremely difficult to kill. Martial artists often had to pay a heavy price to kill it. Su Yu glanced at him with a faint smile. "Why? You didn't accept demonic beast materials just now, but you changed the rules so quickly and started accepting now?" The shopkeeper looked down on Su Yu. How could Su Yu not see through him? He wanted to embarrass the shopkeeper a little. The shopkeeper laughed dryly and said politely, "I was blind. Young master, please move to the inner room and we can discuss in detail." Su Yu waved his hand. "No need, as long as the price is right." Su Yu did not have the energy to bargain. He took out the barbed tiger skin and the flaming lion's tooth on the spot. As a student of the Martial Arts Training Institute, coupled with the fact that he was in the city, he was not afraid of anyone envious. The shopkeeper was excited. The skin of the giant barbed tiger was priceless. The flaming lion's tooth was also a rare treasure. The tiger's skin is 1,200 taels. The flaming lion's tooth is 500 taels. A total of 1,700 taels. How about it? The shopkeeper gave a moderate price. Suyu thought it was reasonable and nodded his head in agreement. The shopkeeper was overjoyed. It was rare to meet such an easygoing customer in such a large transaction. Haha, good. This one admires young master's character very much. How about this? I'll give you 2,000 taels this time. If you have good materials next time, please take care of my shop. I'll buy them at a high price. The shopkeeper did Suyu a favor. Suyu smiled and thanked him. He received 2,000 taels of silver and was about to leave. Bang, crack. Chapter 26. Looking sideways, in an empty corner of the shop, a group of martial artists was watching. In the middle, there seemed to be a fight going on. It seemed that it had been a while, but Suyu had not noticed it before. Shopkeeper, are you not afraid that your shop will be destroyed? Suyu mocked. With the size of this shop, there should be someone behind it. It was really strange that someone dared to make trouble here. A bitter smile spread across his face, and the shopkeeper sighed helplessly. That depends on who the saboteur is. They have been here for some time. They are the gold students of the Institute. It is said that they are ranked third and were publicly challenged by the white armor guards of the Xianyu Prefecture. The shopkeeper shook his head. The white armor guards of the Xianyu Prefecture are at least level 4 of the martial path. How could the gold students be their match? I just went over to take a look. It was a terrible sight. In the Xianyu Prefecture, there were black armor guards and white armor guards. Suyu had seen the black armor guards once. They were murderous, and each was a powerful level 5 of the martial path. The white armor guards were level 4 of the martial path, and were the backbone of maintaining order in the Xianyu Prefecture. Bang, a light hum was heard. Someone was knocked to the ground. The gold students of the Institute are just SOSO. Among the onlookers, a 20-year-old white armor guard stood with his hands behind his back. His white armor shone brightly, accentuating his tall figure. Beside the white armor guard, Li Mingho stood with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with pleasure as he coldly stared at the person lying on the ground. Lu Xian, when you drove me away from the team, I thought you had a great opportunity. It seems that you have not made much progress. Lu Xian, who was beaten to the ground, had a swollen nose and a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He could not exert any strength. A bitter smile formed in his heart. He had just returned from the Twilight Mountains. Unexpectedly, when he entered the shop, he bumped into Li Mingho and his cousin Li Jinshan. Li Mingho had not been able to get the treasures in the cave guarded by the demonic beast. Thus, Li Jinshan challenged him. Li Jinshan had the terrible strength of a level 4 lower tier. How could he compare? Lu Xian struggled to get up. He dejectedly clasped his hands, clutched his abdomen, and awkwardly separated from the crowd. Just then, he noticed Suyu standing outside the crowd with his hands behind his back. He was startled at first, but then he hurriedly gave him a look, telling him to leave quickly. Even he had suffered such revenge from Li Mingho, let alone Suyu. Suyu, so you are here too? Unfortunately, Li Mingho's sharp eyes had discovered Suyu's presence. A wisp of resentment shot out from Li Mingho's eyes. Cousin, it's him. Li Jinshan's eyes were as cold as lightning. He parted the crowd and strode toward Suyu. Squinting his eyes, he ordered coldly, "Was it you who injured Mingho? Good. I, Li Jinshan, challenge you. Prepare for battle." Suyu's expression was calm, and he turned a deaf ear to him as he turned around to leave. He was not interested in a meaningless competition. The onlookers shook their heads. Li Jinshan is going too far. A fourth celestial layer challenging a third celestial layer is an unfair victory. Who asked them to have no background? Let's see if Li Jinshan has the guts to challenge Qin Feng and Fang Qingzhou among the gold students. Li Jinshan was unmoved by the whispers. Seeing that Su Yu was ignoring him, Li Jinshan's eyes shone brightly and he attacked brazenly. Fight or not, it's up to me. You have to fight whether you want to or not. Li Jinshan's palm turned into a claw and fiercely clawed at Su Yu's back. Su Yu frowned. This person was really overbearing, or perhaps he bullied the weak and feared the strong. He even used a sneak attack. With a tap of his toes, Cloud Shadow was displayed. In the eyes of the crowd, Li Jinshan's sneak attack was about to succeed, but Su Yu did not even look back. His figure was free and easy, like the shadow of a cloud, like duckweed on the waves of a river. With a light leap, he easily dodged the attack. Li Jinshan was surprised. Admittedly, he had only used 30% of his strength, but how could the other party be so relaxed? Hey, I didn't know you had some skills. Not bad, I won't be polite. Li Jinshan smiled coldly. Mountain Fist. Li Jinshan's powerful level 4 celestial layer energy suddenly spread. The invisible aura forced the onlookers to retreat. Hiss. Li Jinshan is so ruthless, taking the opportunity to hit hard. When he beat Lu Xian, he did not use his full strength, but now he is going all out. Su Yu is going to suffer. Mountain Fist, medium-level cultivation technique. Swoosh, a punch came and the shadow of the fist overlapped. The powerful force oppressed the air and slightly whimpered. The huge power that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas came from above. Su Yu frowned and his right foot lashed out like a whip. The shadow of the leg was heavy, and the strong body that had been transformed by the jade dragon marrow erupted with a terrifying force. The strength of this leg was beyond common sense. Bang, the two each took 3 steps back. Su Yu's face was calm and indifferent. Li Jinshan, on the other hand, took a deep breath and secretly shook his numb fist. What a strong physical strength, what a fast leg technique. Li Jinshan secretly said 2 strong words in one breath. A level 4 suppressing a level 3 should have been in the bag, but it ended in a tie. The most important thing was that the other party only used physical strength and did not use any cultivation technique. Li Mingho was aghast and incredulous. Su Yu could actually block a blow from his cousin? Lu Xian also could not believe it. When did Su Yu reach such a terrible strength? Li Jinshan and Qin Feng were strong people of the same level. Are you really the Silver King? Li Jinshan could not believe it. How could a silver student be so strong? Su Yu said indifferently, You don't want to continue? Li Jinshan's face turned green and red. Just now, he was overbearing and arrogant, forcing the other party to challenge. Now, how could he back down? Boy, don't be arrogant. You don't understand the strength of a level 4. Li Jinshan snorted and growled. A stream of pure energy circled around his arm. Lu Xian's expression changed greatly. Su Yu. Go. He is going to use vital energy, you can't be his opponent. Vital energy could only be condensed in the realm of level 4. Stepping into level 4, one could cultivate vital energy in the body. The energy was pure and full of explosive power. Vital energy played a vital role for a level 4 to firmly suppress a level 3. Mountain Opening Fist. The same move, after using vital energy, was more than doubled in power. Woo-woo. The air vibrated slightly and the airflow was so chaotic that the shadow of the fist was blurry. A feeling that made one's heart palpitate suddenly came crashing down. Su Yu was not afraid. Tempest. His right foot lashed out like a whip. Traces of cold air, wrapped in the cold wind, swept like blades. Before the leg even arrived, the cold air swept across the surroundings. Traces of white cold mist flickered from time to time. Crack bang, the two of them each took a step back. Su Yu was still relaxed. Li Jinshan was different. His fist was covered in a layer of ice, piercing to the bone. The blood in his fist was blocked, and the flow of vital energy was not smooth, slightly stiff. A look of shock flashed across Li Jinshan's face. "You don't want to continue fighting?" Su Yu asked calmly. Li Jinshan was annoyed. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Swish, the two figures intertwined, one after the other. Bang, bang, crack, mountain opening fist. Tempest. Bang, bang, boom, 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves, 4 moves, 5 moves, 6 moves. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the two had exchanged more than 100 moves. "Is that Su Yu really the Silver King? He's so strong, the Gold King is only SOSO. Compared to the Gold King, Su Yu is much weaker, but comparable to the second-ranked Qin Feng." At this moment, crack, bang, Li Jinshan spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Yu kicked him in the chest, and his body drew a beautiful parabola and fell heavily to the ground. Wah! Li Jinshan spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking closely, the blood he spat out had a trace of cold mist. His body, especially his fists, were completely covered in ice. His entire body was pale from the cold, and he couldn't help but shiver. Li Jinshan was horrified. Every time he came into contact with the other's leg technique, the chill on his body increased. Over time, his body moved slowly, and he was finally defeated by the other. Withdrawing his right leg, Su Yu's physical strength was slightly consumed, but not by much. His body, far stronger than ordinary people, provided him with an endless supply of physical strength. Looking at Li Jinshan, Su Yu shook his head. "The white armor guard of the Duke of Xianyu's palace is just so, at least not as good as the Silver King." Li Mingho was horrified. Carefully leaning against the wall, he moved behind Li Jinshan, awkwardly supported him, and left dejectedly. Su Yu was too strong. So strong that Li Mingho could not bear the thought of revenge. Under the awe of the crowd, Su Yu walked away. In the opposite restaurant, a teenager with thick eyebrows and big eyes and an indifferent, silver-haired teenager quietly watched the whole process. "Haha, Xiao Li, we meet the silver boy from the depository of scriptures again. It looks like his strength has soared a lot." The teenager with thick eyebrows and big eyes sneered. The silver-haired teenager was indifferent and disgusted. "Silver trash, not even qualified for me to fight." The teenager with thick eyebrows and big eyes was noncommittal. Su Yu strolled around the blacksmith shop, and could not help but be disappointed that they were all made of ordinary iron arrows. For Su Yu and the majority of silver students, 5,000 taels of silver in hand was a huge fortune. With nothing to buy, Su Yu subconsciously looked at himself. Loose and cheap martial robes, although clean, the workmanship was rough, and there was no beauty to speak of. Although the body was clean, the skin was slightly bad, dark and rough. His hair also lacked maintenance, dry and scattered. At first glance, he looked like a poor boy. Su Yu had been a white-collar manager in his previous life. When he went out, he dressed meticulously and meticulously. In this different world, he was born poor and could only make do. It was not easy for someone like Su Yu, who was used to a meticulous lifestyle, to endure until now. Now that he had money, he naturally had to dress more respectfully. His inner self had been reborn. Once he changed the name of Trash, his outer appearance had to change as well. In this different world, there was a similar beauty service, and it was a one-stop service. "Customer, we have 3 types of spirit lotions that can quickly improve the skin, but they are expensive. The cheapest one is 1 tael, applied to the skin. How many drops do you want?" 1 tael of silver was enough for an ordinary person to live on for a month. Silver students only had 1 tael of silver a month. Unless one was extremely wealthy, no one would buy such an expensive spirit lotion. "How many drops?" I'll take a bucket first, then soak in it." Su Yu tilted his head and thought. "Ah, a bucket? Oh, okay, wait a moment, I'll do it for you immediately." "Customer, there is a special edition of the spirit lotion for hair care, you see. Take it all out and use it one by one. Ah. Good, good, good. Please wait a moment. Customer, our clothes are all made of the best silk. You don't have anything better. We do. I'll bring you the treasure of our store, the purple cloud dustproof robe. Half a day later. Customer, this is a mirror, I'll take my leave. The serving maid was shocked, looking at Suyu in disbelief. When he came in, she thought he was just a poor commoner. But now, he was a celestial being. The contrast was so great that even she, who was immersed in this industry, was shocked. Chapter 27. With her many years of experience, even if a crow turned into a phoenix, it would still be a crow deep down. She had seen too many poor people who had gotten rich overnight. They had tried their best to beautify themselves, but they looked neither fish nor fowl. Only this young man was naturally calm, as if he had the calmness and confidence of a natural leader. Thus, once he dressed up, the world was turned upside down. As Suyu stood in front of the mirror, he was momentarily stunned. This is me. Suyu was surprised. In the mirror, there was a tall young man dressed in a luxurious purple robe. His head was crowned with white jade pearls, and his long black hair was neatly tied up, flowing freely behind him. His face was as white as jade, exquisite and translucent, as if it had been washed with water. His eyes were as deep as the ancient starry sky, full of wisdom and calmness. His nose was high, his cheeks thin, and his rosy lips and white teeth complemented each other. At a glance, he was a handsome young man, glowing with energy, as handsome as a celestial being from a painting. Paired with the luxurious purple robe, which outlined his tall figure, the formless elegance and handsomeness complemented each other. Suyu found it hard to believe the drastic change. This body's foundation is very good. It was originally a beautiful and elegant body, but it was trapped in poverty for a long time. Now, it has been washed clean and is shining brilliantly. Suyu analyzed the situation inwardly. Now, very few people would be able to recognize him as the poor, cowardly, destitute, and lonely Suyu, whose girlfriend had been snatched away. As he walked, his purple dust-proof robe fluttered in the wind, not a speck of dust on his body. His black hair danced in the wind, accentuating his tall back. His jade-like face reflected a faint crystalline light under the sunlight. His handsome face, like that of a celestial being, was indescribably beautiful in the light. When he walked out of the house, the surrounding world was silent for a moment. What a handsome young man! Is he the descendant of some noble family? Although he is young, his bearing is extraordinary. Suyu smiled. This smile, coupled with his handsome face, was like the bright moon in the sky, bright and brilliant, making people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. The young girls passing by shyly lowered their heads, their faces blushing as they peeked at him. Some of the more daring ones shot flirtatious glances at him. Suyu smiled and left, leaving behind only a fluttering purple shadow as he sped away. Returning to the Martial Arts Training Institute, as he walked between the academies, passers-by would frequently glance at him. The male students' eyes were filled with envy and respect. It was obvious that Suyu was a rich and noble child. There were many female students who were casting flirtatious glances at him. How strange! Apart from Qin Feng and Fang Qingzhou, are there any other handsome men in our academy? It feels like his identity is very noble. Strange, could he be our classmate? But why haven't I seen him before? With a faint smile on his face, Suyu passed through the silver students' dormitory and headed toward his own courtyard. The gold assessment would be held in 2 days. As a silver student, he would have the opportunity to challenge a gold student. Suyu only had one goal, which was to defeat Qin Feng. In front of Jiang Xueqing, in front of the entire world, he wanted to defeat him on the spot. He wanted to tell Jiang Xueqing that her decision to abandon Suyu was wrong. He wanted to tell Qin Feng that his decision to make Suyu his enemy was also wrong. When he passed by a female dormitory, he heard the sound of fighting coming from the second floor. Then, with a soft cry, a woman fell out of the window, right in Su Yu's direction. Her posture was with her head on the ground. If she fell like that, even with her strength, she would still be seriously injured. Su Yu had no reason to leave her in the lurch. Using the cloud shadow duckweed track, Su Yu's toes rotated, his body as graceful as the wind, and he used the momentum to launch himself into the sky. Looking for the right opportunity, his left hand wrapped around the back of her neck, his right hand around her waist, and he hugged her in midair. Then, he slowly floated down. The woman in his arms was so scared that her face turned pale, her eyes tightly shut. Just then, she really thought she was going to die. Feeling the strong and warm chest, the woman slowly opened her eyes. A young man as beautiful as a celestial being in a painting, with a white jade crown on his head and a pair of eyes as deep as the starry sky, so calm and so wise that she could not stop looking at him. She had never realized that a man could be so good-looking, and that his eyes could be so attractive. Thump, thump, her heart beat faster for no reason. It was the first time in her life that her heart had throbbed. A young woman's love for a man did not need to last forever, nor did it need to be sweet nothings. Sometimes a look, a movement, a word, a figure could move her heart. The woman felt that perhaps she had met such a man. When she was in the most danger, he appeared. Although he did not say a word, she was still moved. Su Yu expressionlessly put her down and looked up at the window on the second floor. A figure stretched out from the window. Qin Feng. He was looking at her with a gloomy expression. Because Su Yu was hugging a woman he had never even touched before, Jiang Xueqing. As for Jiang Xueqing, when she looked at Su Yu, her eyes were filled with shock. This made Qin Feng furious. He was obedient to Jiang Xueqing, but Jiang Xueqing had feelings for another man. Not long after, Qin Feng walked down with a woman in his hand. It was Xian Lifei. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and she was afraid and wronged. Qin Feng grabbed her by the neck and dragged her down the stairs while crying. "Thank you for your help, brother." Qin Feng felt that the man in purple looked familiar, but he could not recall if he had such a person among the nobles he had befriended. A deep sense of threat filled his heart. The man in purple looked even more handsome than him, with unparalleled confidence and calmness. His aura of nobility was no weaker than Qin Feng's. Most importantly, Jiang Xueqing was in love for the first time. With hidden hostility, Qin Feng dragged Xian Lifei away. "I'm sorry, the elixir was really stolen by Su Yu. I didn't mean it, please let me go." Xian Lifei cried like a pitiful little doll. Qin Feng flew into a rage out of humiliation and demanded the elixir back. But the elixir worth 2,500 taels was nowhere to be found. Qin Feng had intended to demand the elixir back for Jiang Xueqing to use to break through to level 4. Who knew that Xian Lifei would insist that the elixir was stolen? Qin Feng was furious and tried to teach her a lesson. She hurriedly dodged and accidentally pushed Jiang Xueqing out of the window, causing her to fall. What happened next made Qin Feng even more furious, and he vented his anger on Xian Lifei. Qin Feng coldly snorted, "I won't forgive you." With Qin Feng's ruthless nature, Xian Lifei would not have a good ending. Xian Lifei was frightened and cried incessantly. She looked miserable and miserable. She was born poor and her qualifications were not good. She had to carefully wander between riches to obtain various resources to cultivate. During this period of time, she felt sad, like a person drinking water. Only one knows the temperature of the water. Now, she had finally angered Qin Feng, the little duke. She, who had no power or influence, was isolated and helpless. "What elixir does she owe you?" Su Yu stood with his hands behind his back, indifferently asking. Qin Feng stopped in his tracks and forced a trace of politeness on his face. "A top-grade spirit elixir, could it be that you wish to stand up for her?" Qin Feng had no choice but to be polite to a noble son of an extraordinary background. "Take it." Su Yu flicked his finger and a black box shot out. What a strong finger force! Qin Feng was secretly shocked. This person was not only handsome, but also had the air of nobility. His strength was also very strong. But with Qin Feng's cultivation base of level 4, this little bit of strength could still be resolved. He raised his hand and casually grabbed the black box. He opened it and saw a top-grade spirit elixir. Qin Feng's expression changed. Brother, are you really going to stand up for a strange woman? Su Yu left with his hands behind his back, not even looking back. He only left a faint voice, let her go. His voice was not angry, but it had the majesty of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. Qin Feng struggled for a moment and actually let go. Jiang Xueqing's beautiful eyes reflected the luxurious and elegant purple figure, rippling with extraordinary splendor. A top-grade spirit elixir worth 2,500 taels of silver was given just like that. Such a carefree and unrestrained attitude, regarding money as nothing, this was the world's greatest man. A ripple appeared in her heart for the first time. Thank you, sir, for saving me. Jiang Xueqing regained her senses and bowed to his back. Su Yu did not look back, gradually walking further and further away. Qin Feng's expression was ugly, coldly staring at Jiang Xueqing. What, going back on your word with me? Jiang Xueqing was shocked, hurriedly withdrawing her reluctant gaze and bowing her head apologetically. But there was a trace of regret in her heart. How good would it have been if I had met him earlier? Jiang Xueqing silently sighed in her heart. To be able to meet the man in purple that she liked and could give her glory and wealth, how perfect would it have been if he had appeared in her life earlier and taken her away from that good-for-nothing Su Yu. For the first time, Jiang Xueqing felt that fate was unfair. For the first time, she was dissatisfied with Qin Feng. Once, Qin Feng was the ideal partner in her heart. But today, when she met the purple-robed young master, she understood that she could only obtain material satisfaction from Qin Feng. Her heart did not belong to Qin Feng. Even though Qin Feng was good to her and was obedient, it was difficult for her to develop feelings for him. Just like how she treated Su Yu, a childhood sweetheart, but never truly moved. But now that things had come to this, she had no choice but to hide the man in her heart. Qin Feng's family was illustrious and she could not afford to offend him. Once she abandoned him and threw herself into the arms of the man in purple, what awaited her would be an unpredictable fate. Xian Lifei escaped with tears in her eyes. She gratefully bowed to Su Yu from afar. Thank you, sir. Su Yu was already far away, his weak voice carried by the wind into her ears. The corners of his mouth slightly raised, Su Yu softly sighed. That was for you. Her top-grade spirit elixir had been snatched away by Su Yu in the past. Back in the courtyard, Su Yu immediately went into seclusion. The golden competition was in 2 days. He, Su Yu, wanted to stand proudly in the institute with a new attitude. In a pink boudoir of the Duke of Xianyu's palace, the young princess of Xianyu, dressed in a light yellow dress, pouted and hugged her pillow, pounding it angrily. Her small mouth muttered, "Damn father! He doesn't love me at all. He doesn't love me at all. I want to go on a hunger strike, I want to piss him off." Slap. A jade-like hand lightly slapped her perky buttock. The Duke is doing this for your own good. In the Twilight Mountains you were molested like that. How could the Duke not be angry? Confining you is for your own good. The voice was gentle and tranquil, a faint smile hung on her beautiful face. Who else could it be but a celestial being? Even Sister Jingyu is not helping me. I don't want to live anymore, I don't want to live anymore. The young princess threw herself on the bed, her 2 white legs swinging back and forth. The Duke of Xianyu's palace had always had a good relationship with the Martial Arts Training Institute. The young princess of Xianyu and Xia Jingyu were about the same age, about 14 or 15 years old. Hence, they got along very well. They were good friends who grew up together and talked about everything.